Well, that means you're going to cover for Paul. And he's in, where are we? That's in Act 1, Scene 2 and Act 1, Scene 4.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you come in what, Act 2, Scene 1?
Act 2,
All
Scene
right,
1.
well, now we're live on YouTube as well, and we're still working things out. I'll be joining you later. I'm Paul Sugarman of the Instant Shakespeare Company, and this is the Instant Shakespeare Company, Edward IV, Part 2. And you get to see some of what we have to do to make sure everybody shows up.
Okay, well, in that case, you know, we are covered. At this point, what I just want to do before we begin is just cover Paul's second role, which is Thomas Lord Dorset in Act 2, Scene 1. Drew, would you mind reading those if Paul doesn't show up? That's Act 2, Scene 1, Act 2, Scene 2. And then, in fact, Drew, there's also a messenger in Act 2, Scene 4, in case he's not there by then. You okay with those? Great. In that case, I think we can begin. Hello, Derek.
Hi, Stephen. How are you? Hi, everyone.
Nice to see you.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Long time no see. Anyway, okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to begin in Thomas Heywood's Act 4, Edward IV, Part 2. And first, if everybody would like to introduce themselves, I'll just go down the list as it is. David.
I'm David Cedar. I am reading King Louis of France and Sir Robert Brackenbury, the Lieutenant of the Tower of London.
And Paul Sugarman will be reading Thomas Lord Dorset, a messenger, Francis Lord Lovell, and a servant when he gets back to us. Drew.
I'm Drew Bolander, and I'll be reading Saint-Pierre, a messenger, Lord of Conte, George, Duke of Clarence, and Rufford, or Rufford, not sure.
Before we
as well as Thomas Lord Dorset if Paul doesn't arrive in time.
Yes.
Okay.
Is Bill Gruneberg now a panelist? I tried to promote him. He was an attendee.
He just said he never got one. So you're there?
I'm here, yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry. Hello, Bill. We're just doing the introductions right now, okay? Right. Paul is going to be late. So we've had David introduce himself. I introduced Paul. Drew has introduced himself. Bill Bleckenberg will be coming in late. He will be playing Megaloon if he arrives. And then Shaw, disguised as Flood. Alex.
I'm Alex Chilton. I'll be playing the Herald of England in Act 1 and Scene 1 and 2. The Duke of Burgundy, messenger from King Louis, and Richard of Gloucester, later Richard III.
Derek.
Hi, I'm Derek Tarson. I'll be reading Count St. Paul, a messenger, Dr. Shaw, and the Duke of Buckingham.
Eduardo.
Hello, hi. I'm Eduardo Perez. I'll be reading King Edward IV, as well as Forest and a Ghost.
Ken.
Kenneth Wayne. I'm going to be doing Sir Thomas Stillinger.
It's actually St. Ledger. It's Sir Thomas St. Ledger.
Stillinger. Thank you.
Oh, St. Ledger. St. Ledger.
I know
Sir
I'm
Thomas
doing
St. Ledger. Yes.
Yes. Stillinger. Stillinger, etc.
Okay. The etc. David Palmer Brown.
My name is David Palmer Brown. I'm reading Lord Howard, Captain Strangeage,
yes,
Sheriff, and Heir.
Okay. Clinton.
Hello, I'm Clinton Powell. I'm reading Lord Scales, Dighton, Jockey, and the second apparitor.
Jesse.
Hi, I'm Jessie Aftel. I'm reading Sir William Catesby and Edward V, who is Prince Edward.
Okay. I would also like to point out that Jesse has very generously agreed to read in place of Bill Blushingburg until he gets here.
Christina.
I'm Christina Osterling. I am reading Bourbon, Jane Shore, and Young Prince Richard.
Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel Sheffrin. I'm reading a Herald, Queen Elizabeth, and First Apparitor.
And Virginia?
I'm Virginia Hammer, and I'm doing Mrs. Blagg and chorus before Act 2.
Okay, and that is it. Bill, as the playmaster, do you have anything you want to say?
Yes, one last thing. I did a little math, and it looks like the best break point for like a 10-minute break would be right at the end of Act 2, just before Act 3. So between those two acts. And that's it. Break a leg, everybody. I know you all. I know you're all going to be wonderful. So I'm looking forward to this.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, begin and have a great evening.
Thank you, Stephen. Oh no, this is different. Oh.
Everybody can turn off their videos, please. And apart from Eduardo, their speakers.
Oh God, I'm on here in a different way. How do I get off?
Oh no.
Oh God.
So, Virginia, you're having a technical issue?
Yeah, sorry. Nah. Maybe I should go off and then you guys can try to help me back on. Okay. Sorry. Microphone. Oh God. Don't beep 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 beep. Don't allow. Oh my goodness.
All right.
Don't you have the lower left-hand corner, Virginia?
Oh,
Start
I couldn't get on Zoom the way I always have been able to when I got on via computer. Now it's all different.
You don't have your link, your panelist link? Because that's how you should come in.
I do have it, and it wouldn't bring up Zoom for me, and I came on a different way. Well, I'll just keep playing with it. I'm really sorry. You guys have to get started.
Okay.
It's a long play.
All
I
right.
suggest we begin.
Okay. Is this the aid our cousin Burgundy and the great constable of France assured us? Have we marched thus far through the heart of France, and with the terror of our English drums roused the poor, trembling French which leave their towns, that now the wolves affrighted from the fields do get their prey and kennel in the streets? Our thundering cannons now this fortnight space, like common bellmen in some market town, have cried the constable and Burgundy, and yet I see they come not to our aid. We'll bring them in, or by the blessed light, we'll search the ground sills of their city walls. Since you have brought me hither, I will make the proudest tower that stand in France to quake. I marvel Scales returns not, for by him I do expect to hear their resolutions.
My sovereign, he is happily returned.
Welcome, my lord, welcome, good cousin Scales. What news from Burgundy? What is his answer? What, comes he to our succor as he promised?
Not by his good will, for aught that I can see, he lingers still in his long siege at Noose. I urged his promise and your expectation, even to the force and compass of my spirit. I cheered my firm persuasions with your hopes, and gilded them with my best oratory. I framed my speech still fitly, as I found the temper of his humor to be wrought upon. But still I found him earthly, unresolved, muddy, and methought even through his eyes I saw his wavering and unsettled spirit. And to be short, subtle, and treacherous, and one that doth intend no good to you. And he will come, and yet he wanteth power. He would fain come, but may not leave the siege. He hopes he shall, but yet he knows not when. He purposed, but some impediments have hindered his determined intent. Briefly, I think he will not come at all.
But is he like to take the town of Noose?
My lord, the town is liker to take him, that if he chance to come to you at all, 'tis but for succor.
But what says Count St. Paul?
My lord, he lies and revels at St. Quentin's, and laughs at Edward's coming into France. There, domineering with his drunken crew, makes jigs of us, and in their slavering jests tell how like rogues we lie here in the field. Then comes a slave, one of those drunken sots, in with a tavern reckoning for a supplication, disguised with a cushion on his head, a drawer's apron for a herald's coat, and tells the court the King of England craves one of his worthy honours, dog kennels, to be his lodging for a day or two, with some such other tavern foolery. With that, this filthy rascal, greasy rout, burst out in laughter at this worthy jest. neighing like horses. Thus, the Count St. Paul regards his promise to your majesty.
Will no man thrust the slave into a sack butt?
Now by this light, were I but near the slave with a black jack, I would beat out his brains.
If it please your highness but to say the word, we'll pluck him out of Quinton's by the ears.
No, cousin Howard, we'll reserve our valor for better purposes. Since they both refuse us, ourselves will be unrivaled in our honor. Now our first cast, my lord, is at main France, whilst yet our army is in health and strong. And have we but once broke into that war, I will not leave St. Paul nor Burgundy, not a big bare pig's coat to shroud them in. Harold!
My liege, my
Go,
sovereign.
Harold, and to Louis, the French king, denounce stern war and tell him I am come to take possession of my realm of France. Defy him boldly for us. Be thy voice as fierce as thunder to affright his soul. Harold, be gone, I say, and be thy breath piercing as lightning, and thy words as death.
I go, my liege, resolved to your high will.
Sound drum, I say, set forth with our power, and France ere long expect a dreadful hour. I will not take the English standard down, till thou impale my temples with thy crown.
Herald of England, we are pleased to hear what message thou hast brought us from thy king. Prepare thyself, and be advised in speech.
Right, gracious and most Christian King of France. I come not to thy presence unprepared to do the message of my royal liege, Edward IV of England and of France, the lawful king and lord of Ireland, whose puissant magnanimous breast incensed through manifest notorious injuries offered by thee, King Louis and the French, against his title to the crown of France, and right in all these dukedoms following, Aquitaine, Anjou, Guyenne, Angoulême, breathes forth by me the organ of his speech, hostile defiance to thy realm and thee, and trampling now upon the face of France with barbed horse and valiant armed foot, himself the leader of those martial troops, bids thee to battle where and when thou darest, except thou make such restitution and yearly tribute on good hostages, and may content his just conceived wrath. And to this message, answer I expect.
Right peremptory is this embassage, and were my royal brother of England pleased to entertain those kind affections wherewith we do embrace his amity, needless were all these thunder-threatening words. Let heaven, where all our thoughts are registered, bear record with what deep desire of peace we shall subscribe to such conditions as equity for England shall propound. If Edward have sustained wrong at France, Louis was never author of that wrong. Yet faultless we will make due recompense. We are assured that his majesty's thoughts in his mild spirit did never mean these wars, till Charles Burgundy, once our fawning friend, but now our open foe, and Count St. Paul, our subject, once and constable of France, but now a traitor to our realm, and as were motives to incite him unto arms, which having done, they will leave him on my life.
The king, my master, recks not Burgundy and scorns St. Paul, that treacherous constable. His puissance is sufficient in itself to conquer France, like his progenitors.
He shall not need to waste by force of war, where peace shall yield him more than he can win. We covet peace, and we will purchase it at any rate that reason can demand. And it is better England join in league with us, his strong, old, open enemy, than with those weak and new dissembling friends. We do secure us from our open foes, but trust in friends, though faithless we repose. My Lord Saint-Pierre and cousin Bourbon, speak. What censure you of Burgundy and St. Paul?
Dread Lord, it is well known that Burgundy made show of tender service to your majesty, till, by the engine of his flatteries, he made a breach unto your highness' love. where entered once and thereof fully possessed, he so abused that royal excellence by getting footing into many towns, castles, forts belonging to your crown, that now he holds them against your realm and you.
And Count St. Paul, the Constable of France, ambitious in that high authority, usurps the lands and seigneuries of those that are true subjects, noble peers of France. Your boundless favors did him first suborn, and now to be your liegeman he thinks scorn.
By this conjecture the unsteady course thy royal master undertakes in France. And herald, intimate what fervent zeal we have to league with Edward and his English. 300 crowns we give thee for reward, and of rich crimson velvet 30 yards, in hope that thou wilt unto thy sovereign tell we show thee not one discontented look, nor render him one misbeholden word, but his defiance and his dare to war we swallow with the supple oil of peace, which, gentle herald, if thou canst procure, 1,000 crowns shall justly guerdon thee.
So please it your most sacred majesty to send unto my gracious sovereign equal conditions for the bonds of peace and restitution of his injuries. His temper is not of obdurate malice, but sweet, relenting, princely clemency. Perform your promise of 1,000 crowns, and second me with some fit messenger, and I will undertake to work your peace.
By the true honor of a Christian king, effect our peace, and thou shalt have our crowns. And we will post a herald after thee that shall confirm thy speech and our designs. Go, Mougeron, see to this herald given the velvet and the 300 crowns proposed. Farewell, good friend. Remember our request, and kindly recommend us to King Edward. How think you, lords? Is not more requisite to make our peace than war with England's power?
Yes, gracious lord. That Talbot, Bedford, and King Henry made, which peace must cure, or France shall languish still.
Besides, my liege, by these intestine foes, the Constable and treacherous Burgundy, the state's in danger if the English stir.
'Tis perilous and full of doubt, my lords. We must have peace with England every way. Who shall be herald in these high affairs?
No better man than Monsieur Mougeron, whose wit is sharp, whose eloquence is sound, his presence gracious, and his courage good. A gentleman, a scholar, and a soldier, a complete man for such an embassage. Art thou content to be employed, Mougeron, in this negotiation to King Edward?
If your most sacred majesty command, your humble vassal Mougeron shall go.
Gramercies, Mougeron. But thou must assume a herald's habit and his office both, to plead our love and to procure us peace with English Edward for the good of France.
I know the matter and the form, my lord. Give me my herald's coat and I am gone.
Thou art a man composed for business. Attend on us for thy instructions and other fit supplies for these affairs. For thy diligence expect reward.
Whither away so fast goes Burgundy?
Nay, rather whither goes the constable?
What might to King Edward, man? Is he not come? Meanst thou not likewise to go visit him?
Oh, excellent. I know that in thy soul thou knowest that I do purpose nothing less. Nay, I do know, for all thy outward show, thou hast no meaning once to look on him, brother dissembler. Leave this coloring with him that means as falsely as thyself.
Aye, but thou knowest that Edward on our letters and hoping our assistance when he came, did make this purpose voyage into France, and with his forces is he here arrived, trusting that we will keep our word with him. Now, though we mean it not, yet set a face upon the matter as though we intended to keep our word with him effectually.
And for my better countenance in this case, my lingering siege at Neuse will serve the turn. There I will expend the time to disappoint King Edward's hope of my conjoining with him.
And I will keep me still here in St. Quentin's, pretending mighty matters for his aid, but not performing any, on my word. The rather, Burgundy, because I aim at matters which perhaps may coach your head, if all hit right to expectation in the mean space, like a good crafty knave that hugs the man he wishes hanged in heart. Keep I fair weather still with Burgundy, till matters fall out for my purpose fit. Ici sont mes secrets, beau temps mort pour moi.
Beau temps pour moi, are you so crafty, constable? Proceed, proceed, you quick, sharp-sighted man. Imagine blind, witless, and a silly idiot that pries not into all your policy. Who, I? No, God doth know my simple wit can never sound a judgment of such reach as is our cunning constable of France. Persuade thyself so still, and when time serves, and that thou art in most extremity, needing my help, then take thou heed of me. And meanwhile, sir, you are the only man that hath my heart. Hath. Aye, and a great reason too, thus it befits men of deep reach to do. Well, constable, you'll back again to News, and not aid English Edward?
What else, man? And keep thee in St. Quentin's, so shall we smile at King Edward's weak capacity.
Telling me not, Burgundy, 'tis I am wronged, and you have dealt with a disloyal knight.
Edward of England, these are unkingly words.
He that will do, my lord, what he should not, must and shall hear of me what he would not. I say again, you have deluded me.
Am I not come according to my word?
No, Charles of Burgundy. The word was given to meet with me in April. Now 'tis August, the place appointed, Calais, not Lorraine, and thy approach to be with martial troops, but thou art come not having in thy train so much as a page or lackey to attend thee. And who should say thy presence were mutiny, and strength enough to answer our expect? Summer is almost spent, yet nothing done, and all thy dalliance with uncertain hope.
My forces lay before the city of Neuse, from which I could not rise but with dishonor, unless upon some composition had.
There was no such exception in your letter. Why smiles, Lord Scales?
My man reports, my lord, the composition that the Duke there made was mere compulsion, for the citizens drave him from thence perforce.
I thought so much. We should not yet have seen your excellence, but that your heels were better than your hands.
Lord Scales, thou dost me wrong to slander me.
Letting that pass, it shall be seen, my lord, that we are able of ourselves to claim our right in France, without or with your assistance or any others, but the help of heaven.
I make no question of it. Yet, the constable, pressed with no such occasion as I was, might have excused us both if he had pleased.
Accuse him not. Your cities are as we came, wherein as much to be condemned as his. They gave us leave to lie within the field, and scarcely would afford us meat for money. This was small friendship, in respect of that you had engaged your honor to perform. But march we forward, and as we were determined. This is St. Quentin's, where you say, my lord, the constable is ready to receive us.
So much he signified to me by letter.
Well, we shall see his entertainment. Forward! Fly to our main battalia, bid them stand. There's treason plotted. Speak to me, Lord Scales, or if there be no power of life remaining to utter thy heart's grievance, make a sign, 2 of our common soldiers slain beside. This is hard welcome. But it was not you at whom the fault the fatal engineer did aim. My breast the level was, though you the mark. In which conspiracy, answer me, Duke, is not thy soul as guilty as the Earl's?
Perish my soul, King Edward, if I knew of any such intention.
Mm-hmm.
Yet I did, and grieve that it has sped no otherwise.
Howard and Sellinger, what is there hope of life in none of them?
The soldiers are both slain outright, my lord, but the Lord Scales is a little recovered.
Convey his body unto pavilion, and let our dungeons use all diligence they can devise for safeguard of this life, whilst we with all extremity of war go plague St. Quentin's. Howard, fetch on our powers. We will not stir a foot until we have shown just vengeance on the Constable of France. Oh God, to woo us first to pass the sea, and at our coming thus to halt with us. I think the like thereof was never seen. But where's the Duke?
Gone as it seems, my lord stepped secretly away, as one that knew his conscience would accuse him if he stayed.
Pair of most dissembling hypocrites is he and this base earl on whom I vow, leaving King Louis unprejudiced in peace to spend the whole measure of my kindled rage. Their streets shall sweat with their effused blood, and this bright sun be darkened with the smoke of smoldering cinders, when their city lies buried in ashes of revengeful fire, on whose pale surfaces, in the stead of parchment with my lance, I'll draw these lines. Edward of England left this memory in just revenge of hateful treachery. Lord Howard, have you done as I commanded?
Our battles are disposed, and on the brow of every inferior servitor, my lord, you might behold destruction figured, greedily thirsting to begin the fight. But when no longer they might be restrained, and that the drum and trumpet both began to sound war's cheerful harmony, behold, a flag of truce upon the walls was hanged, and forth the gates did issue, meekly paced 3 men, whereof the constable is one, the other 2, the gunner and his mate, by whose gross oversight, as they report, this sudden chance unwittingly befell.
Bring forth the constable. The other 2, see them safeguarded till you know our pleasure. Now, my Lord Howard, how is it with Scales?
Well, my dread sovereign, now his wound is dressed, and by the opinion of the surgeons, 'tis thought he shall not perish by this hurt.
Oh, I am the gladder. But, faithful Earl, I do not see how yet I can dispense with thy submission. This was not the welcome your letter sent to England promised me.
Right, high and mighty prince, condemn me not, that am as innocent in this offense as any soldier in the English army. The fault was in our gunner's ignorance, who, taking you for Louis, King of France, that likewise is within the city's ken, made that unlucky shot to beat him back, and not of malice to your majesty, to knowledge which I brought them with myself, and 30,000 crowns within this purse, sent by the burghers to redeem your luck.
Constable of France, we will not sell a drop of English blood for all the gold in France. But insomuch 2 of our men are slain to quit their debts, those 2 that came with thee shall both be crammed into a cannon's mouth, and so be shot into the town again. It is not like but that they knew our colors, and of set purpose did this villainy, nor can I be persuaded thoroughly that our person was the mark they aimed at. But yet are we well content to hold you excused. Marry, our soldiers must be satisfied, and therefore first shall be distributed these crowns among them. Then you shall return, and all your best provisions send to us, 30 wain load, besides 12 ton of wine. This, if the burgher will subscribe onto, their peace is made. Otherwise, I will proclaim free liberty for all to take the spoil.
Your highness shall be answered presently, and I will see these articles prepared.
Oh, yet one more thing. I will that you, my lord, together with the Duke of Burgundy, do ere tomorrow noon bring all your force and join with ours, or else we do recant, and these conditions shall be frustrate.
Mine are at hand, my lord, and I will write the Duke. The Duke may likewise be in readiness.
Let him have safe conduct through our army, and against the morning every leader see his troops be furnished. For no longer time, God willing, the trial shall be deferred twixt Louis and us. What echoing sound is this?
A gentleman from the King of France, my lord, craves promise, your excellence.
Gentlemen, bring him in. What news of God's name from our brother Louis?
Most puissant and most honorable king, my royal master Louis, the King of France, doth greet your highness with unfeigned love, wishing your health, prosperity, and rule, And thus he says by me, when it was seen that ever Lewis pretended hurt to England, either by close conspirators sent over to undermine your state, or openly by taking arms with purpose to invade. Nay, when was it that Lewis was ever heard so much as to detract from Edward's name, but still hath done him all his due of speech by blazing to the world his high deserts of wisdom, valor, and heroic birth? Whence is it then that Edward is incensed to render hate for love, for amity, stern war? Not of himself, we know, but by the means of some infectious counsel that, like mud, would spoil the pure temper of his noble mind. It is the Duke and that pernicious rebel, Earl of St. Paul, have set abroach these wars, who of themselves unable to proceed would make your grace the instrument of wrong. And when you have done what you can for them, you shall be sure of nothing but this, still to be doubled and dissembled with. But if it might seem gracious in your eye to cast off these despised confederates, unfit companions for so great a prince, and join in league with Lewis, my loyal master, him shall you find as willing as of power to do your grace all offices of love. And what commodity may spring thereby to both the realms your grace is wise enough, without my rude suggestions, to imagine. Besides, much bloodshed for this present time will be prevented when two such personages shall meet together to shake hands in peace, and not with shock of lance and curtle-axe. That Lewis is willing, I am his substitute, and he himself in person, if you please, not far from hence, will signify as much.
Sir, withdraw and give us leave a while to take advisement of our counselors. What say ye, lords, unto this proffered truce?
In my conceit, let it not be slipped, my lord.
Will it not be dishonor, having landed so great an army in these parts of France, and not to fight before we do return?
How can it be when the enemy submits and of himself makes tender of allegiance?
Aye, that's the question, whether he will yield and do King Edward fealty or no.
What talk ye, lords? He shall subscribe to that, or no condition I'll accept at all.
Let him be bound, my lord, to pay your grace toward your expenses since you're coming over 75,000 crowns of the sun, and yearly after 50,000 more during your life, with homage thereof, that he doth hold his right royalty from you and take his offer. 'Twill not be amiss.
It shall be so. Draw you the articles, and Sellinger, call forth the messenger. Bring with thee to a cup of massy gold, and bid the bearer of our privy purse enclose therein 100 English royals. Friend, we do accept thy master's league with no less firm affection than he craves. If he will meet us here betwixt our tents, it shall on both sides be confirmed by oath. On this condition, that he will subscribe to certain articles shall be proposed. And so thou hast my answer. To requite thy pains therein, we give to thee this cup.
Health and increase of honor wait on Edward.
Lord Howard, bring the Frenchman on his way. King Louis is one that never was precise. But now, Lord Howard and Tom Sellinger, there's a task remains for you to do. And that is this. You two shall be disguised, and one of you repair to Burgundy, and the other to the Constable of France, where you shall learn in secret, if you can, if they intend to meet us here tomorrow, or how they will take this our accord with France. Somewhat it gives me you will bring from thence worthy of the noting. Will you undertake it?
With all my heart, my lord. I am for Burgundy.
And I am for the Constable of France.
Make speed again. What news?
The King of France, my lord, attended royally, is marching hitherward to meet your grace.
He shall be welcome. Hast thou drawn the articles?
Yes, my dread sovereign.
Go call forth our train. We may receive him with like majesty.
My princely brother, we are grieved much to think that you have been at so great a charge and toiled your royal self so far from home upon the unconstant promise of these men that both dissemble with your grace and me.
Brother of France, you might condemn us rightly, not only of great wrong and toil sustained, but of exceeding folly if incited. we had presumed to enter these dominions upon no other reason than the word and weak assistance of the Earl St. Paul or Burgundy's persuasion. 'Tis our right that wings the body of composed war. And though we listened to their flatteries, yet so we shape the course of our affairs, as of ourself we might be able found without the trusting of a broken staff.
I know your majesty hath had more discretion, but this is not the occasion of our meeting. If you so please to entertain a peace, my kingly brother, in the sight of these and of all discovering eye of heaven, let us embrace. For as my life I swear, I tender England and your happiness.
The like do I by you and warlike France. But, princely brother, ere this knot be knit, there are some few conditions to be signed. That done, I am as ready as yourself.
Fair brother, let us hear them, what they be.
Harold, repeat the articles.
First, it is covenanted that Louis, King of France, according to the custom of his predecessors, shall do homage to King Edward, King of England, of his sovereign and true heir to all the dominions of France.
How, as his sovereign, that were to depose and quite bereave him of his diadem, will kingly Louis stoop to such a vassalage?
Bourbon! And if he will not, let him choose.
Brother, have patience. Bourbon, seal your lips and interrupt not these high consequence. Forward, Harold, what else is demanded?
Secondly, it is covenanted that Louis, King of France, shall pay unto Edward, King of England, immediately upon the agreement betwixt their majesties, 75,000 crowns of the sun, toward the charge King Edward hath been at since his arrival in these parts of France.
Dieu, he'll neither leave his crown nor coin.
Bourbon, I say be quiet, be silent. Harold, read on.
Thirdly and lastly, it is covenanted that over and beside these 75,000 crowns of the sun, now presently to be paid, Louis, King of France, shall yearly hereafter, during the life of Edward, King of England, pay 50,000 crowns more without fraud or guile, to be tendered at his Majesty's castle, commonly called the Tower of London.
Nay, bind him that he bring his lordship a couple of capons too every year beside. Here is a peace indeed, far worse than war.
Mother of France, are you resolved to do according as you hear the covenants drawn?
Brother of England, mount your royal throne, for subjects' weal and glory of my God, and to deal justly with the world beside, knowing your title to be lineal, from the great Edward of that name the third, your predecessor, thus do I resign, giving my crown and scepter to your hand, as an obedient liegeman to your grace.
Same do I deliver back again, with as large interest as you had before. Now for the other covenants.
Those, my lord, shall likewise be performed with expedition, and ever after as you have prescribed, the yearly pension shall be truly paid.
Swear on this book, King Louis, so help you God, you mean no otherwise than you have said.
So help me God, as I dissemble not.
So help he me, as I intend to keep unfailed league and truce with noble France. And, kingly brother, now to consummate this happy day, feast in our royal tent. English and French are one. So it is meant.
A peace concluded, sayst thou, if not so?
My lord, I do assure you it is so.
Thou affirmest the like, say, dost thou not?
I do, my lord, and for that certainty.
I have found it now. The villain constable has secretly with Edward thus compact to join our king and him in amity, and thereby doubtless got into his hands such lands and dukedoms as I aim it at, and leaves me disappointed in my hope. A plague upon such crafty cozening. Now shall I be a mark for them to aim at, and that vile slave to triumph in my foil.
'Tis so, for it can be no otherwise. Burgundy has been privy to this plot, conspired with Lewis and the English king to save his own stake and assure himself of all those seigniories I hoped for. Thereupon this close peace is contrived. Now must the constable be as a butt for all their bullets to be levelled at. Hell and hot vengeance light on Burgundy for this subtle secret villainy.
Well, fellow, for thy pains, take that. Leave me alone, for I am much displeased.
And get thee gone, my friend. There's for your pains. So leave me to myself.
Very well, sir. I hope I have peppered ye.
And so I think I have my constable.
Now, constable, this piece, what think ye of it, man?
Nay, rather thinks Burgundy.
I think that that did contrive the same was little less than a dissembling villain.
Dog, bite thyself. Come on, come on. Have you not played John for the king to save yourself, sir?
Aye, art thou good at that? Adieu, sir. I may chance to hit you pat.
You may, sir. I perhaps may be before ye, and for this cunning through the nose to bore ye.
So, Sullinger, when we perceive by thee the Duke is passing angry at our league?
I, my dread lord, beyond comparison, like a mad dog snatching at every one that passeth by, shall I but show you how, and act the manner of his tragic fury.
No, stay a while. Methought I heard thee say they meant to greet us by their messengers.
They did, my lord.
What, and the constable too?
My sovereign, yes.
But how took he the news?
Oh, faith, even as discontented as might be, but being a more deep melancholist and sullener of temper than the Duke, he chews his malice, fumes and froths at mouth, uttering but little more than what we gather by his disturbed looks and rivelled front, saying that now and then his boiling passion, dammed up as in a furnace, finding vent, breaks through his severed lips into short puffs, and then he mumbles forth a word or two, as doth a toothless monk when he's at matins.
Oh, it was sport alone to note their carriages.
What, my lord? Will you but hear me speak, and if I do not weary you with laughter, ne'er trust Tom Sullinger more upon his word.
Oh, I pray thee peace. By this it should appear one of their messengers is come. Go see upon my life. We shall have some device of new dissimulation. How now, Tom?
'Tis as your highness did suppose, my lord. Here is a messenger from Burgundy.
Oh, excellent, good. Admit him presently. And brother of France, let me entreat your grace to stand a little in my tent. Lest finding us together, he refrained to tell the message he has sent about. So sure I am persuaded we shall find some notable piece of knavery set afoot.
With all my heart. Urge him to speak loud enough that I, my lord, may understand him too.
Fear not, I have the method in my mind. What is it, you, my lord of Conte? Welcome. How doth the valiant Duke? In health, I hope?
In health, my lord, of body, though in mind somewhat distempered, that your grace hath joined in league with his professed enemy.
How say you that, my lord? Pray you, speak out. For I of late, by reason of a cold and somewhat sick of hearing.
Thus, my lord, your grace demanded if the Duke were well. I answer you, he is in health of body, though inwardly in mind somewhat perplexed that you, without his knowledge, have ta'en truce with childish Lewis, that heartless king of France.
With whom, I pray ye? A little louder, sir.
With childish Lewis, that heartless king of France.
Oh, I now do understand you. Is it that he takes unkindly? Why, if he had come with his expected forces as he promised, I had been still incapable of peace. But he deceiving me, but the fault was his.
No, my good lord, the fault was not in him, but in that lewd pernicious counterfeit, that crafty fox, the constable of France, who counseled him to keep him at his siege, saying it would be more dishonorable to rise from thence than in any way profitable to meet your majesty. Beside, my lord, it hath been proved since how much the constable hates your proceedings by that willful shot was made against you from St. Quentin's walls, which though he seemed to color with fair speech, the truth is they did level at yourself and grieved when they heard you were not slain.
May I be bold to credit your report?
The Duke upon his honor bade me say that it was true. And then withal, quoth he, tell noble Edward that if he recant and fall from Lewis again, knowing it is more for his dignity to be sole king and conquer France, as did his ancestors, than take a fee and be so satisfied, that I am ready with 12,000 soldiers, all well appointed, and not only will deliver him the constable of France, that he may punish him as he seems good, but seat him in the throne imperial, which now another basely doth usurp.
Speak that again. I heard not your last words.
Oh, but seat you in the imperial throne, which now another basely doth usurp.
I thank his honor for his good regard. Please that you stay till we have paused upon it, and you shall have your answer to the Duke. Tom Sellinger, receive him to your tent, and let him taste a cup of Orleans wine. Now, my kingly brother, have you heard this news?
So plainly, my lord, that I scarce hold myself from stepping forth, hearing my royal name so much profaned and slobbered as it was. But I do weigh the person like himself, from whence it came, a sly dissembler. And spite my anger, I was forced sometimes to smile, to think that the Duke doth hang his friend behind his back, whom to his face he smooths.
But we shall have far better sport anon. Howard tells me that another messenger is come in post haste from the constable. As you have begun with patience, hear the rest.
No more ado. I'll to my place again. Remember that you still are deaf, my lord.
I warrant you. Howard, call in the messenger.
Health to the glorious King of England.
Oh, tell him that he must strain out his voice aloud, for I am somewhat deaf and cannot hear.
His Majesty requests you to speak out because his hearing is of late decayed.
The worthy Earl St. Paul
Hear me.
The worthy Earl St. Paul greets noble Edward and gives your grace to understand by me that whereas Charles, that painted sepulchre and most disloyal Duke of Burgundy, hath but usurped the habit of a friend, being in heart your deadly enemy, as well appears unto his false breach of promise, and that whereas he never meant himself to send you aid, but likewise was the means to hinder my lord's well-affected duty, alleging you desired his company, but that you might betray him to his king. Besides, whereas it will be proved, my lord, that he did hire the gunner at St. Quentin's for a large sum of money to discharge 3 several pieces of great ordnance upon your coming to that cursed town, to slay your majesty. In which regard, if it will please you to revoke from France and think of Burgundy as he deserves, the Duke with expedition bade me say that he will put the Earl into your hands, whereby you might revenge his treacherous purpose and aid you too with twice 5,000 men and seat you like a conqueror in France.
Can it seem possible that two such friends, so firmly knit together as they were, should on a sudden now be such great foes?
The Earl, my lord, could never abide the Duke, since his last treason against your sacred person before St. Quentin's came open to the light.
Was that the cause of their dissension, then?
It was, my lord.
Well, I will think upon it, and you shall have your answer by and by. Cousin Howard, take him aside, but let him keep from the other sight.
Sir, will you walk in? My lord will take advice, and so dispatch you back unto the Earl.
Here's vying of villainy, who shall have all? Fraud with deceit, deceit with fraud outfaced. I would the devil were there to cry swoopstake. But how intends your grace to deal with them?
Faith in their kind. I am the steel, you see, against the which their envy being struck, the sparkles of hypocrisy fly forth. 'Twere not amiss to quench them in their blood.
My lord, here's letters to your majesty, one from the Duke of Burgundy, the other from the constable.
More villainy, 1,000 crowns to nothing.
Can there be more than this than is already broached? Methinks they have already done so well, and this may serve to bring them both to hell.
No, no, they are indifferently well loaden, but yet their fraughts not full. I see otherwhere, other provision to prepare their way. The very same, my lord, which they pretend in love to you, against my life and crown, the same they undertake to do for me, against your safety, urging, if I please, that they will join their forces with mine, and in your back return to Calais, cut the throats of you and all your soldiers.
Oh, damnable! But that I see it figured in these lines, I would have sworn there had been nothing left for their pernicious brains to work upon.
A traitor is like a bold-faced hypocrite that never will be brought unto a nonplus so long as he hath liberty to speak.
The way to cure them is to cut them off. Call for their messengers once more to us.
Then, my lord?
Yes, both together. We'll see if they have grace to blush or no. All at that their master's shame now to attempt.
What is His Majesty of France so near? And Monsieur Rosset, the Earl's secretary? I fear some hurt depends upon this presence.
How comes it that I see the French king here? I and the Lord Conte, methinks, pray God our message be not made a scorn.
You told me that you came here from Earl St. Paul?
I did, my lord, and therein fabled not.
You told me too of many kind endeavors which he intended for our benefit.
No more than he is willing to perform.
Know you this handwriting, if you see it?
I do, my lord.
Is this his hand or no?
I cannot say but that it is his hand.
How comes it then that underneath his hand my death is sought, when you that are his mouth tune to our ears a quite contrary tale? The like read you deciphered in this paper concerning treacherous wavering Burgundy, unless you grant they can divide themselves and of two shapes become four substances. How is it I should have their knightly aid, and yet by them be utterly destroyed?
And I to be protected by their means, and yet they shall conspire against my life.
What call you this but vile hypocrisy?
Nay, peasant-like, unheard of treachery.
My lord, upbraid not me with this offense. I do protest I knew of no such letters, nor any other intention of the Duke, more than before was uttered in my message.
Ken, you're muted. Ken, you're muted. Ken?
Let me see if I can unmute him.
Will you be halting too before a creeple? Do you not remember what they were that first did certify the Duke of truce betwixt the renowned Edward and the French?
Yes, they were two soldiers. What of that?
Those soldiers were this gentleman and I. Am I still muted?
No, you're good. You're good.
Where we did hear the foul-mouthed Duke exclaim against our noble sovereign and this prince, and roared and bellowed like a parish bull, and that in hearing both of you and him, his words so please my lord, I can repeat as he did speak them at that very time.
Well, they are messengers, and for that cause we are content to bear with their amiss. But keep them safe, and let them not return to carry tales onto those counterfeits until you have them both as fast ensnared to compass which the better, brother of France. 5,000 of our soldiers here we leave to be employed in service, and to that end. The rest of us to England shall return.
Virginia, I believe this is you. All right, I'll read it. King Edward is returned home to England, and Louis, King of France, soon afterward surprised both his subtle enemies, rewarding them with traitorous recompense. Now do we draw the curtain of our scene, to speak of Shore and his fair wife again, with other matters thereupon depending. You must imagine, since you saw him last, prepared for travel, he hath been abroad, and seen the sundry fashions of the world, Ulysses-like, his country's love at length, hoping his wife's death, and to see his friends, such as did sorrow for his great mishaps. Come home is he, but so unluckily as he is like to lose his life thereby. His and her fortunes shall we now pursue, graced with your gentle sufferance and view.
Have you bestowed our small benevolence on the poor prisoners in the common jail of the White Lion and the King's Bench?
Yes, forsooth.
What prison's this?
Oh, the Marshalsea, forsooth.
Well met, fair lady, in the happiest time and choicest place that my desire could wish. Without offense, where have you been this way?
To take the air here in St. George's Field, Sir Robert Brackenbury, and to visit some poor patients that cannot visit me.
Are you a physician?
Aye, a simple one.
What disease cure ye?
Faith, none perfectly. My physic doth but mitigate the pain a little while, and then it comes again.
Sweet Mr. Shore, I understand ye not.
Master Lieutenant, I believe you well.
Good faith, Sir Robert Brobenbelly, my mistress speaks deftly and truly, for she has been to see those that cannot come to see her. And these patients perforce, the prisoner man in the two prisons, and she has been gin them her siller and her gur to bathe them food.
Premises, jockey, that resolves my doubt. A comfort ministering kind physician, that once a week in her own person visits the prisons and the poor in hospitals, in London or near London every way, whose purse is open to the hungry soul, whose piteous heart saves many a tall man's life.
Peace, good Sir Robert, 'tis not worthy praise, nor yet worth thanks, that is of duty done. For you know well, the world doth know too well, that all the coals of my poor charity cannot consume the scandal of my name. What remedy? Well, tell me, gentle knight, what meant your kind salute and gentle speech at our first meeting, when you seemed to bless the time and place of our encounter here?
Lady, there lies here prisoned in the Marshalsea a gentleman of good parents and good descent, my dear near kinsman, Captain Harry Strangwich, as tall a skillful navigator tried as e'er set foot in any ship at sea, whose luck it was to take a prize of France, as he from Rochelle was for London bound, for which, except his pardon be obtained by some special favorite of the king, he and his crew, a company of proper men, are sure to die, because 'twas since the league.
Let me see him and all his company.
Keeper, bring forth the captain and his crew.
Now, fire the devil, that syke bonny men sudden be hampered like blue jays. Was it me for ye good lads?
Aye, cousin Harry, this is Mistress Shore, peerless in court for beauty, bounty, pity. And if she cannot save thee, thou must die.
Will she if she can?
Aye, cousin Strangwich, aye.
Oh, torment worse than death to see her face that caused her shame and my unjust disgrace. Oh, that our mutual eyes were basilisks to kill each other at their interview.
How like ye him, lady? You have viewed him well.
I pity him, and that some proper man that turns his back ashamed of this distress.
Ashamed of thee, cause of my heaviness.
And all the rest. Oh, were the king returned, there might be hope. But ere his coming home, they might be tried, condemned, and judged, and dead.
I am condemned by sentence of defame. Oh, were I dead, I might not see my shame.
Your credit, lady, may prolong their trial. What judge is he that will give you denial?
I'll rack my credit and will launch my crowns to save their lives if they have done no murder.
Oh, thou hast cracked thy credit with a crown and murdered me, poor Matthew Shore, alive.
Fair lady, we did shed no drop of blood, nor cast one Frenchman overboard. And yet, because the league was made before the fact, which we poor seamen, God knows, never heard, we doubt our lives. Yet, though we should restore treble the value that we took, and more, 'twas lawful prize when I put out to sea and warranted in my commission. The kings are since combined in amity, long may it last, and I unwittingly have took a Frenchman since the truce was ta'en. And if I die via one day I must, and God will pardon all my sins, I trust. My grief will be for these poor harmless men who thought my warrant might suborn the deed. Chiefly that gentleman that stands sadly there, who, on my soul, was but a passenger.
Well, Captain Strangwich, were the king at home, I could say more.
Lady, he's come ashore last night at Dover, my boy from thence, and saw his highness land.
Then courage, sirs. I'll use my fairest means to save your lives. In this season, in the main season, spend that for my sake.
By your leave, Mistress Shore, I have taken pains to find you out. Come, you will go with me.
Whither, my lord?
Unto the Queen, my mother.
Good my lord, Marquis Dorset, wrong me not.
I cannot wrong thee, as thou wrongst my mother. I'll bring thee to her. Let her use her pleasure.
Against my will, I wrong her, good my lord, yet am ashamed to see her majesty. Sweet my lord, excuse me, say ye saw me not.
Shall I delude my mother for a whore? No, Mistress Shore, ye must go to the Queen.
Must I, my lord? What will she do to me? Use violence on me now the king's away? Alas, my lord, behold the shower of tears which King Edward would compassionate. Bring me not to her. She will slit my nose or mark my face or spurn me unto death. Look on me, Lord. Can you find in your heart to have me spoiled and never thought you harm? Or rather with your rapier run me through and carry me to the displeased queen.
Oh, hadst thou never broken thy vow to me from fear and wrong, had I defended thee.
I am inexorable. Therefore, arise and go with me. What rascal crew is this? Mistress Shore's suitors? Such slaves make her proud. What, Sir Robert Brackenbury? You a shorist too?
No shorist, but to save my cousin's life.
Then I'll be hanged if he escape for this. The rather for your means to Mistress Shore, my mother can do nothing. This whore all? Come away, minion, ye shall prate no more.
Pray for me, friends, and I will pray for you. God send you better hap than I expect. Go to my lodging, you, and if I perish, take what is there in lieu of your true service.
Nah, my soul, I'd never forsake my good mistress till I had seen the worst that spite can do her.
For all the wrong that thou hast done to me, that it should not hurt thee yet if I were free.
See, cousin Strangwich, how the case is changed. She that should help thee cannot help herself.
What remedy? Oh, the God of heaven helps all. What say ye, mates? Our hope of life is dashed, but now none but God. Let's put our trust in him, and every man repent him of his sin. And as together we have lived like men, so like tall men, together let us die. The best is, if we die for this offense, our ignorance shall plead our innocence.
Your meat is ready, Captain. You must in.
Must I? Huh. I will. Cousin, what will you do?
Visit you soon. But now I will to court to see what shall become of Mistress Shore.
Oh, God speed ye well.
Come, sir, will you go in?
I'll eat no meat. Give me leave to walk here. Am I now left alone? No. Millions of miseries attend me everywhere. Ah, Matthew Shore, how doth all-seeing heaven punish some sin from thy blind conscience hid, inflicting pain where all thy pleasure was, and by my wife came all these woes to pass. She falls to her faith and break her wedlock's band. Her honor fallen, how could my credit stand? Yet will not I, poor Jane, on thee exclaim, though guilty thou, I guiltless suffer shame. I left this land too little for my grief, returning am accounted as a thief, who in that ship came but a passenger, to see my friends, hoping the death of her, at sight of whom some sparks of former love hid in affection's ashes, pity move, kindling compassion in my broken heart that bleeds to think on her ensuing smart. Oh, see weak women's imperfections that leave their husbands' safe protections, hazarding all on strangers' flatteries, whose lust allayed leaves them to miseries. See what dishonor breach of wedlock brings, which is not safe even in the arms of kings. Thus do I, Jane, lament thy present state, wishing my tears thy torments might abate.
Now, as I am queen, a goodly creature, son, how was she attended? Where found you her?
Madam, I found her at Marshalsea, calling to visit the poor prisoners. As she came by, having been to take the air, and there the keeper told me she oft deals such bounteous alms as seldom hath been seen.
Now, before God, she would make a gallant queen. But, good son Dorset, stand aside a while. God save your majesty, my Lady Shore. My Lady Shore, said I? Oh, blasphemy, to wrong your title with a lady's name. Queen Shore. Nay, rather, Empress Shore. God save your grace, your majesty, your highness, lord. I want titles. You must pardon me. What? Oh, you kneel there? King Edward's bedfellow, and I, your subject, sit. Fie, fie, for shame. Come, take your place, and I'll kneel where you do. I may take your place. You have taken mine. Good Lord, that you will so debase yourself. I am sure that you are our sister queen at least. Nay, that you are... Oh, then let us sit together.
Great queen, yet hear me, if my sin committed have not stopped up all the passage to your mercy. To tell the wrongs that I have done, your highness might make revenge exceed extremity. Oh, had I words or tongue to utter it to please my woman's weakness, and his strength that was the only worker of my fall, even innocence herself would blush for shame, once to be named or spoken of in this. Let them expect for mercy whose offense may be called sin. Mine is more. Prostrate as earth before your highness' feet, inflict what torments you shall think most meet.
Spurn the whore, mother. Tear those enticing eyes that robbed you of King Edward's dearest love. Mangle those locks, the baits to his desire. Let me come to her. You but stand and talk as if revenge consisted but in words.
Son, stand aloof and do not trouble me. Alas, poor soul. As much ado have I to forbear tears to keep her company. Yet once more will I to my former humor. Why, as I am, think that thou wert a queen, and as thou should wrong thy princely bed and win the king thy husband as thou mine, would it not sting thy soul? Or if that I, being a queen, that while thou didst love my husband, should but have done as thou hast done to me, would it not grieve thee? Yes, I warrant thee. There's not the meanest woman that doth live, but if she like and love her husband well, she had rather feel his warm limbs in her bed than to see him in the arms of any queen. You are flesh and blood as we, and we as you, and all alike in our affections. Though majesty makes us the more ambitious, what 'tis to fall into a great hand. Knowledge might teach thee. There was once a king, Henry II, who did keep his leman caged up at Woodstock in a labyrinth. His queen yet got a trick to find her out, and how she used her, I am sure thou hast heard. Thou art not mute up in some secret place, but kept in the court here underneath my nose. Now in the absence of my lord the king, have I not time most fitting for revenge? Fair Rosamond, she a pure virgin was until the king seduced her to his will. She wronged but one bed, only the angry queen's, but thou hast wronged two, mine and thy husband's. Be thine own judge, and now in justice see that what due revenge I ought to take on thee.
In what you will, great queen. Here do I lie humble and prostrate at your highness' feet. Inflict on me what may revenge your wrong. Was never lamb abode more patiently than I will do. Call all your griefs to mind, and do even what you will, or how likes you, I will not stir. I will not shriek or cry, be it torture, poison, any punishment was never dove or turtle more submiss than I will be unto your chastisement.
Fetched I her for this? Mother, let me come to her, and what compassion will not suffer you to do to her, refer the same to me.
Touch her not, son, upon thy life I charge thee. But keep off still, if thou wilt have my love. I am glad to hear ye are so well resolved to bear the burden of my just displeasure. Thus, then I'll do. Alas, poor soul, shall I weep for thee? In faith, poor heart, I will. Be of good comfort, thou shalt have no harm. But if that kisses have the power to kill thee, thus 1,000 times I'll stab thee. Jane, I forgive thee. What fort is so strong, but with besieging he will batter it? Weep not, sweet Jane. Alas, I know thy sex touched with the same self-weakness that thou art, and if my state had been as mean as thine, and such a beauty to allure his eye, though I may promise much to mine own strength, what might have happed to me I cannot tell. Nay, fear not, for I speak it with my heart, and in thy sorrow truly bear a part.
Most high and mighty queen, may I believe there can be found such mercy in a woman, and in a queen, more than a wife so deeply wronged as I have wronged you. In this bright crystal mirror of your mercy, I see greatness of my sin the more, and makes my fault more odious in mine eyes. Your princely pity now doth wound me more than all your threatenings ever did before.
Rise, my sweet Jane, I shall say thou shalt not kneel. God forbid that Edward's queen should hate her whom she knows he doth so dearly love. My love to her may purchase me his love. Jane, speak well to the king of me and mine. Remember not my sons or hasty speech. Thou art my sister, and I love thee so. I know thou mayest do much with my dear lord. Speak well of us to him in any case, and I and mine will love and cherish thee.
All I can do is all too little, but to requite the least part of this grace. The dearest thoughts that harbor in this breast shall in your service only be expressed.
What is my Jane with her? It is true. See where she hath down upon her knees. Why, how now, Bess? What will you wrong, my Jane? Country love, what has she done to thee?
Oh, royal Edward, love thy beauteous queen, the only perfect mirror of her kind, for all the choicest virtues can be named. Oh, let not my bewitching looks withdraw your dear affections from your dearer queen, but to requite the grace that she hath shown to me, the worthless creature on this earth, to banish me the court immediately. Great king, let me but beg one boon of thee, that Shore's wife ne'er do her more injury.
Nay, then I'll beg against her, royal Edward. Love thy Jane still. Nay, more, if more may be, and this all the harm that at her hands she shall endure for it. Oh, where my Edward loves, it ills beseems his queen to grudge thereat.
Sayest thou me so, Bess? Oh, my kingly word, Edward will honor thee in heart for this. But trust me, Bess, I greatly was afraid I should not find ye in so good a tune. How now, what would our constable of the tower?
The queen and Mistress Shore do know my suit.
It is the strange greed and his men at sea, Edward. Needs must you pardon them.
Have I not vowed the contrary already? Dishonor me when I have made a league. My word is passed, and they shall suffer death. Or ne'er more let me see France again.
Why, there is one was but a passenger. Shall he die too?
Pass me no passage, Jane. Were he in company, he dies for company.
Good Jane, entreat for them.
Come, Edward, I must not take this answer. Needs must I have some grace for Strangwich.
Why, Jane, have I not denied my queen? Yet, what is it, Jane, I would deny to thee? I prithee, Brackenbury, be not thou displeased. My word is passed, not one of them shall live. One go, and see them forthwith put to death.
I cannot see this prophecy you speak of should anyway so much displease the king. And yet I promise you, good brother Clarence, 'tis such a letter as concerns us both, that G should put away King Edward's children and sit upon his throne. That G should. Well.
God bless the king and these two sweet princes.
Amen, good brother Clarence.
Amen.
And send them all to heaven shortly, I beseech him.
The king's much troubled in his sickness with it.
I promise you he isn't very much, but Dr. Shaw, who prophesied that G should just be sadly ominous to us?
My lord of Gloucester, I received the same from old Friar Anselm at Bartholomew's.
A great learned man he was, and as I have heard, hath prophesied of very many things. I promise you it troubles me. I hope in me his prophecy is true.
And so it does me, I tell you, brother Gloucester.
I am sure it does. Look you, brother Clarence, we know how his highness will apply it. We are but two, yourself, my lord, and I. Should the young princes fail? Which God defend?
Which God defend?
Which God defend?
But they should be cut off. Amen, amen. You, brother, first. And should your issue fail, poor I am next, the youngest of the three. But how far I am from a thought of that heaven witness me, that I wish you dead.
Brother, I durst be sworn.
God bless you all, and take you to him if it be his will. Now, brother, this prophecy of G troubling the king, he may as well apply it unto Gloucester, my dukedom's name, if he be jealous, and unto George, your name, good brother Clarence. God help. God help. The faith that troubles me. You would not think how any of you live.
I cannot choose. How innocent I am, and how unspotted are my loyal thoughts unto his highness and those sweet princes. God be my record.
Who you? I durst answer for you that I shall cut you off ere long. But, Reverend Doctor, you can only tell, being his highness confessor, how he takes it. Shaw, you know my mind, a villain like myself.
My lord of Clarence, I must tell your lordship his highness is much troubled in his sickness with this same prophecy of G. Who is this G? Oft times he will demand, and then will sigh, and name his brother George, yourself, my lord. And then he strikes his breast, I promise you, this morning in the extremest of his fit. He lay so still, we all thought he had slept, when suddenly he said, George is the G, quoth he, and gave a groan and turned his face away.
God be my witness, witness with my soul, my just and upright thoughts to him and his. I stand so guiltless and so innocent as I could wish my breast to be transparent and my thoughts written in great letters there. The world might read the secrets of my soul.
Ah, brother Clarence, when you are suspected, well, it is a wicked world the while. But I shall tell you, brother, in plain terms, I fear yourself, and I have enemies about the king. God pardon them. The world was never worth to be trusted. Ah, brother George, where is that love that was? Where? Ah, it is banished, brother, from the world. Ah, conscience, and true brotherhood, 'tis gone. 'Tis gone. Brother, I am your friend. I am your loving brother, your own. I love you as my soul. Use me in what you please, and you shall see I'll do a brother's part. Send you to heaven, I hope, ere it be long. I am a true stamped villain as ever lived.
Oh, I know you will. Then, brother, I beseech you, plead you mine innocence to the king. And in meantime, to tell my loyalty, I'll keep within my house at Baynard's castle until I hear how my dread sovereign takes it.
Do, good brother.
Farewell, brother Gloucester.
My tears will scarcely let me take my leave. I love you so. Farewell, sweet George. So is it gone? Now, Shaw, 'tis in thy power to bind thee to me everlastingly. And there is not one step that I shall rise, but I will draw thee with me unto greatness. Thou shalt sit in my bosom as my soul. It scents the king now, being as thou art so near about him and his confessor, that this G only is George, Duke of Clarence. Doctor, thou needst not my instruction. Thou hast a searching brain and a nimble spirit, able to master any man's affections. Effect it, Shaw, and bring it to pass once. I'll make thee the greatest Shaw that ever was.
My lord, I'm going by commandment into the Marshalsea to Captain Strangequitch for piracy of late condemned to die, there to confess him and his company. That done, I'll come with speed back to the king, and make no doubt but I'll effect the thing.
Farewell, doctor.
Farewell, my lord of Gloucester.
Let me awake my sleeping wits a while. Ah, Mark, thou aim'st at Richard is a crown, and many stand betwixt thee in the same. What of all that? Doctor, play thou by thy part, I'll climb up thy degrees through many a heart.
Why, Master Vaux, is there no remedy? But instantly must they be led to death? Can it not be deferred till afternoon, or but 2 hours in hope to get reprieve?
Master Lieutenant, 'tis in vain to speak. The king's incensed and will not pardon them. The men are patient and resolved to die. The captain and that other gentleman have cast the die, whether shall suffer first.
How fell the lot to Stanwich or to him?
The guiltless passenger must first go to it.
They are all quite guiltless from intent of ill.
And yet must die for doing of the deed. Besides, the Duke of Exeter, found dead and naked, floating up and down the sea twixt Calais and our coast, is laid to them, that they should rob and cast him overboard.
My soul be pawned, they never knew of it.
Well, bring them forth.
Stay them yet but an hour.
I dare not do it, Sir Robert Brackenbury. You are lieutenant of the Tower yourself and know the peril of protracting time. Moreover, here's that pick-thank Dr. Shaw, the Duke of Gloucester's spaniel, shriving them. Come, bring them forth.
Poor Stranguage, must he die? I dare not say good morrow, but ill day that Harry Stranguage is thus cast away.
Good cousin Brackenbury, be as well content to see me die as I to suffer death. Be witness that I die an honest man, because my fact proves ill through ignorance. And for the Duke of Exeter, his death so speed my soul as I am innocent. Here goes my grief, like this guiltless gentleman, like Aesop's stork that dies for company, and came, God knows, but as a passenger. Ah, Master Flood, 1,000 floods of woe o'erflow my soul, that thou must perish so.
Where are you? It's not here. Okay, I'll read this. Good captain, let no perturbation hinder our passage to a better world. This last breath's blast will waft our weary souls over death's gulf to heaven's most happy port. There's a little battle to be fought, wherein by lot the leading must be mine. Second me, captain, and this bitter breakfast shall bring a sweeter supper with the saints.
This Christian patience at the point of death doth argue he hath led no wicked life. However, heaven hath laid this cross on him. Well, Matthew Flood, for so thou callest thyself, finish a good course as thou hast begun, and clear thy conscience by confession. What knowest thou of the Duke of Exeter's death?
So God respect the waygate of my soul, as I know nothing.
Then concerning this for which thou diest, knew Stranguage of the league betwixt the kings before he took that prize?
No, in my conscience.
Stranguage, what say you? You see there's but a turn betwixt your lives. You must be next. Confess and save your soul concerning that wherein I questioned him. I am your ghostly father to absolve you of your sins if you confess the truth.
True, Dr. Shaw, and as I hope for heaven, in that great day when we shall all appear, I neither knew how that good Duke came dead, nor of the league till I had ta'en the prize. Neither was Flood, that innocent dying man, ever with me but as a passenger.
Nor happy he. Well, Flood, forgive the world as thou wilt have forgiveness from the heavens.
Oh, so I do, and pray the world forgive what wrong I did whilst I therein did live. And now I pray you turn your pains to them and leave me private for a little space to meditate upon my parting hence.
Do, gentle Flood, and we will pray for thee.
Pray not for Flood, but pray for Matthew Shore, for Shore covered with the cloak of Flood. If I have sinned in changing of my name, forgive me, God. 'Twas done to hide my shame, and I forgive the world. King Edward first, that racked my state by winning of my wife. Oh, and though he would not pardon trespass small in these in me, God knows the fault of all, at all. I pardon him, though guilty of my fall. Perhaps he would if he had known 'twas I. But 20 deaths I rather wish to die than live beholding for 1 minute's breath to him that living wounded me with death. Death of my joy and hell of my defame, which now shall die under this borrowed name. Jane, God forgive thee, even as I forgive. And pray thou mayst repent while thou dost live. I am as glad to leave this loathed light as to embrace thee on our marriage night. To die unknown, thus is my greatest good, that Matthew Shore is not hanged, but Matthew Flood. For floods of woe have washed away the shore that never wife nor kin shall look on more. Now, when you will, I am prepared to go.
Hold, fight for speed, untie, untruss, pull down, pull off. God save the Queen, off with the helters, hence with the prisoners, a pardon, a pardon.
News unlooked for. Welcome, gentle friend. Who brings the pardon?
Well, stay first, let me blow. My Mistress Shaw, she brings the pardon. Off with these bands, bestow them o' the hangman. My mistress made me run the nearest way o' the fields. She raids apace the highway. She's at hand by this. Sirrah, she that preach come down. Let Dr. Shaw ha your place. He's the best scholar. Mistress Shaw brings a new lesson for you.
Oh, I had read my latest lesson well, had he been ready to have said amen. Now shall I live to see my shame again. Oh, had I died unwitting to my wife rather than see her, though she bring me life.
Alas, I see that even my smallest stay had lost my labor and cast them away. God knows I hasted all that e'er I might. Here, Master Vaux, King Edward greets ye well. His gracious pardon frees these gentlemen and all his company from shameful death.
God save the king!
God
bless Mr. Shore!
Amen, and keep them from coming here anymore.
You must discharge them, paying of their fees, which, for I fear their store is very small, I will defray. Hold, here, take purse and all. Nay, Master Vaux, 'tis gold. If not enough, send to me, I will pay you royally.
Lady, in behalf of all the rest, with humble thanks, I yield myself your slave. Command their service and command my life.
No, Captain Strangridge, let the king command your lives in service, who hath given you life. These and such offices conscience bids me do.
Pity that ere awry she trod her shoe.
Oh, had that conscience pricked when love provoked.
Lady, the last but not the least in debt to your devotion for my cousin's life, I render thanks. Yet thanks is but a breath. Command me, madam, during life. Old Brackenbury vows for you to stand whilst I have limbs, or any foot of land.
Thus in her glory builded on the sand.
Thanks, good Master Lieutenant of the Tower. Sirrah, prepare my horse. Why stay you here? Pray ye commend me to my noble friend, the Duke of Clarence, now your prisoner. Bid him not doubt, the king's displeasure past, I hope to gain him favor and release.
God grant you may. He's a noble gentleman.
My patron Gloucester'll cross it if he can.
Where's Mistress Shore? A lady, I come in post. The king hath had a very dangerous fit since you came from him. Twice his majesty hath swooned, and with much ado revived, and still his breath will give him leave to speak. He calls for you. The queen and all the lords have sent to seek ye. Haste unto his grace, or else I fear you'll never see his face.
Oh, God defend. Good friends, pray for the king. More bitter are the news which he doth bring than those were sweet I brought to you of late. If Edward die, confounded is my state. I'll haste unto him and will spend my blood to save his life or do him any good.
So would I for thee, hadst thou been true. If he die, bid all thy pomp adieu.
Believe me, but I do not like these news of the king's dangerous sickness.
No, nor I. Captain and Master Flood and all the rest, I do rejoice your pardon was obtained before these inauspicious news. If the king die, the state will soon be changed. Master Lieutenant, you'll go to the Tower. I'll take my leave. Gallants, God be with ye all.
God be with you, Master Vaux. We had lost good guests.
You shall be my guest for a night or two, cousin, till your own lodging be prepared. But tell me, sir, what means hath Master Flood?
Well, I cannot tell. I'll ask him if you will.
Do so, and if his fortune be debased, I'll entertain him, if he will dwell with me on good condition.
Master Matthew Flood, hear ye my cousin Brackenbury's mind? He hath conceived such liking of your parts that if your means surmount not his suppose, he'll entertain ye gladly at the Tower to wait on him and put ye in great trust.
What I undertake, I will be just and hold me happy if my diligence may please so worthy a gentleman as he. Whatever my fortunes have been, they are now such as to service make their master bow.
No, Flood. More like a friend and fellow mate, I mean to use thee, than a servitor, and place thee in some credit at the tower, and give thee means to live in some good sort.
I thank ye, sir. God grant I may deserve it.
Cousin, and all your crew, come home with me, where after sorrow we may merry be.
The tower will be a place of secret rest, where I may hear good news and bad, and use the best. God bless the king. Worse may wear the crown, and then, Jane Shore, thy credit will come down, for thou I'll never bed nor board with thee. Yet thy destruction I wish not see, because I loved thee when thou wast my wife. Not for now saving my disdained life, which lasts too long. God grant us both to mend. Well, I must in my service to attend.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our interval or intermission or break, whatever you want to call it. And let's say it's now, let's see, your time, East Coast time is 8:38 p.m. So 8:48 p.m. Let's start up with the next act.
Sounds good.
Okay, so 10 minutes in.
Thank you, Ten.
Thank you. Thank you, Ten. So yeah, thank you guys. This is fun. I'm sorry I missed my first part, but they made me work at work. So
you had the king. They were important.
And apologies. This never has happened. You know, I thought I was supposed to be out by 5. Apologies, Bill.
I'm just grateful you're here. I didn't really want to have to read today. I wasn't, you know, I've gone over the play, but
I didn't want to stop you. I said, so shoot, should I interrupt him?
No, I was hoping you would turn your camera on, and you did finally. I didn't want to interrupt the scene because it had a nice flow.
Yeah.
I really wanted you to take, you know.
Yes, I couldn't find the right page. Anyways, okay. Apologies. Apologies. It's like, wait a second, he's not here yet. Yes, I'm here, but where are we?
Right. Hey, I just want to say to everybody, at least in this reading today, if you do lose your place, it happens to everybody, hit the page down button accidentally or go sideways or something. It just go out, turn your mic on and say page. Anybody, just in between lines, say page.
Wow.
I think that's the only way to do it, and it's worse than. I mean, it's much worse to have somebody
bad review. Black Rider, the best seller.
And you know, there's a trick that I found for myself in readings where if you're totally lost, you cannot find the page. You wait till somebody says, "Or so she shall," or something, and you do a search on "or so she shall," and most times you come right to it. But this is a PDF made of images, like it's not typeset, so you can't search on any. It'll go right to the just the first page or something. So we can't do that in this one, but it's a good tip for future readings. If you
that is really useful, and it is frustrating though. I was going to try and just print out my pieces and put together a scroll, but then because when you look at the PDF, some of them are scanned very nice as black and white scans, and some of them were scanned grayscale so that you have this background, and so when you try and print it out, use all the toner in the background you don't want.
Yeah, no, this is a tough script, just in terms of the physical script itself.
I was reading up about Thomas Haywood, and he wrote, by his estimation, 225 plays or something, but only about 23 are extant.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
By the way, Virginia, you didn't come in as the chorister, so I read it.
Yeah, I'm really sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I just want to make sure everything was okay.
I had technical issues. Oh! I was yelling at the screen, "Let me in," but I couldn't. It was me and my technicals. But I got it.
I mean, you
got it solved.
Well, yeah, here you are. Good. Right. So,
and I missed my first scene of the keeper because I had the name down as Vo or Vokes.
Right. I know. I hate that about the script. there's so many, you like when I was reading Plantagenet, sometimes it was Plant, sometimes it was York, sometimes it was Yor, sometimes it was Richard. And that's really confusing because his son's name is Richard and later he's referred to as Richard. And so you really have to, it's tough to find all your cues. But you guys are doing a great job, I think. I'm going to stop my video for just a couple of minutes. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, well, this is a fun reading, and it's really interesting hearing these plays, which are much more, I don't know, it's really, I mean, it's the saga of the shores, really. I mean, it seems that there's, you get a few like stuff of like, but, and I guess this was written after, though, what Shakespeare had written. I get the feeling because of some of the ways, I mean, since I'd heard it was like published in like 1600 or something, so that I think this was I haven't looked up Haywood at all. But I don't know if that seems that way to anybody else, but I mean, it seems to me like he's like, especially with all of the stuff with going on about the letter G and all that stuff. And other things, it's sort of like, yeah, we're building up the backstory of what you already know from Richard III. But
just mentioned a lot of Richard III. What mentions the beginning of Richard III, right?
Yeah.
The G of Edward's heir is the murderer shall be.
Yep, absolutely. And we get to see it all and how it gets, George, your name G. And I don't even know if it's intended, but I just loved what Alex did. God, and like, his name begins with G too. Maybe it could be God.
That was intentional.
I love that. That was great.
Thanks.
So, so we've gotten through all of these almost. We just have Richard III, and then it will have this cycle we will have done it.
I have to watch on YouTube the one that came after the other alternative Richard II that you guys did. I haven't watched it yet on YouTube. But who wrote that one?
Anonymous. I believe we have it that one is anonymous, that we don't know who wrote it. And some people think it is Shakespeare. I didn't particularly, I didn't get to hear all of it, but yeah. But it is, there's a lot to do, and we've done, because of Zoom and because sometimes we're doing things 2 a week, I think by the end of this year, we'll probably have done over 70 readings.
Hey,
so,
Paul?
Yeah, David?
Are you in Act 5, Scene 2?
Am I in Act 5, Scene 2? It does not look like I am, no.
Well, I'm the sheriff and heir, and I'm going to be talking to myself.
Okay, so what do you want me to do?
I'm doing heir just before that, so I guess I'll be heir if you could be the sheriff.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Sheriff. Thanks. Yeah, and also, I mean, these also, although, I mean, this does have a really, really big cast, like the other histories, like Richard III and the Henry VI plays, those were done, we know they were sort of done before 1592 because they were done before the plagues closed the theaters for a significant period, which was always like, oh, wow, that's such a historical oddity that there was a disease so bad that they had to close the theaters for like over a year. How could that would never happen in this modern world now, would it?
Well, fully done.
Who was just talking about the problem of playing two characters in one scene?
David Brown was saying that heir, and because it doesn't look like on your chart that heir is indicated that he's also in 5.
He's not, but he's in there. He has a bunch of lines.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I got the schematic from Stephen Brown. I probably should have run through it and checked it myself.
Yeah, well, I mean, these things, it's difficult to get all of it from all of the the many scenes, the many different names, the few
Right,
people where you
right.
have like, oh, a messenger comes in. So
And you guys worked it out. Somebody's going to read one of the.
yeah, I'll read the sheriff for him.
Okay.
So.
The sheriff also comes in 4-1, but he doesn't have any lines.
Oh,
okay.
Cool. All right.
So
right.
I figured I'd just turn my camera on and be there. You can be a different sheriff.
Yeah. There's a lot of, hey, Thomas More, that's how Thomas More started as a sheriff. as we hear in the play of Sir Thomas More that we've done. But yeah, now that we've done all the histories, we also have to start doing all of the other possible Shakespeare plays as well. We're doing some of them, but still haven't done Arden of Faversham yet. So, but anyways, I guess it's time for us to get. So
yeah,
I'm one of the
so.
first people here, aren't I? So I should rename myself.
And is Derek the other? Yeah, it looks like Shaw is Derek. All right. Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I'm assuming I know I see a lot of cameras off as they should be, so I'll just assume you're there waiting for your next entrance. And this is we'll call it part 2, but it's it's the whole thing is part 2. This is Act 3, Scene 1.
Well met, my good Lord Lovell.
Whither away so fast goes Dr. Shaw?
Why, to the Tower to shrive the Duke of Clarence, who, as I hear, is fallen so grievous sick as is thought he can by no means escape.
He neither can nor shall, I warrant thee.
I hope, my lord, he's not dead already.
But I hope, sir, he is. I'm sure I saw him dead of a fly's death, drowned in a butt of Malmsey.
Drowned in butt of Malmsey? That is strange. Doubtless he would never misdo himself.
No, that thou knowest right well. He had some helpers. Thy hand was in it with the Duke of Gloucester's as smoothly as thou seekst to cover it.
Oh, foul words, my lord, no more of that. The world knows nothing. Then what should I fear? Doth not your honor seek promotion? Oh, give the doctor then a little leave, that he may gain preferment with a king. Cares not who goes to rack, whose heart doth ring.
King? What king?
Why, Richard, man, who else? Good Lord, I see wise men sometimes have weak capacity.
Why, is not Edward living? And if he were not, hath he not children? What shall become of them?
Why, man, lining for beds. A knife or so. What makes a boy a king and a man stand by? Richard a man for us. Fie, that were shame.
Nay, then I see if Edward were deceased, which way the game would go.
What else, my lord? That way the current of our fortune runs. By noble Richard, gallant, royal Richard. He is the man must only do us good. So I have honor, let me swim through blood. My lord, but be at Paul's Cross Sunday next. I hope I have it here shall soundly prove King Edward's children not legitimate. Nay, and that for Edward's ruling now, and George the Duke of Clarence so late dead, their mother hap to tread the shoe awry.
Why, what is Richard then?
Lawful man, he says so himself, and what he says I'll be so bold to swear, though in my soul I know it otherwise. But beware promotion while you live.
Staff, 1,000 pounds for a staff.
What staff, Sir William Catesby?
Why, man, a white staff for my Lord Protector.
Why, is King Edward dead?
Dead, Lovell, dead. And Richard, our good Lord, is made protector of the sweet young prince. Oh, for a staff. Where might I have a staff that I might first present it to his hand?
Now do I smell 2 bishoprics at least. My sermon shall be peppered sound for this.
Why, how now, Mr. Shore? What, put finger in the eye? Nay, then, I see you have some cause to cry.
I blame her not. Her chiefest stay is gone, the only staff she had to lean upon. I see by her these tidings are too true.
Ay, my Lord Lovell, they are too true indeed. Royal King Edward now hath breathed his last. The Queen turned out, and every friend put by, none now admitted but whom Richard please.
Why, doubtless Richard will be kind to you.
Ah, my good Lord Lovell, God bless me from his kindness. No sooner was the white staff in his hand, but finding me and the right woeful queen, sadly bemoaning such a mighty loss, here is no place, quoth he, you must be gone. We have no other matters now to think upon. For you, quoth he to me, and bit his lip, and struck me with his staff, but said no more, where I can know he meaneth me no good.
Well, Mistress Shore, 'tis like to be a busy time. Shift for yourself. Come, lads, let us be gone. Royal King Richard must be wait upon.
Well, Mr. Shore, if you have need of me, you shall command me to the uttermost.
Let me die ere I do put my trust in any fleering spaniel of you all. Go, jockey, take down all my hangings, and quickly see my trunks be conveyed forth to Mistress Blegg's, an inn in Lombard Street. The Flower de Luce, good jockey, make some speed. She must be my refuge in this need. See it done quickly, jockey.
Wickly, quoth I. Mary, here's a wick change. Indeed, sick wick change did I never see before. Now dream I that I's be a very poor fellow, and hardly ha' any siller to drink with a good fellow. But what stand I tattling here? I must go do my mistress's bidding, carry all her stuff and gear to Mistress Blegg's at the Flower de Luce in Lombard Street. Wick then, dispatch!
Come hither, Flood. Let me hear thy opinion. Thou know'st I build upon thy confidence and honest dealing in my great affairs. I have received letters from the Duke, Gloucester, I mean, protector of the land, who gives in charge the tower be prepared this night to entertain the two young princes. It is my duty to obey, I know, but manifold suspicion troubles me.
He is their uncle, sir, and in that sense, nature should warrant their security. Next, his deceased brother, at his death, to Richard's care committed both the realm and their protection, where humanity stands as an order to plead against, as an order to plead against all wrong suggestion of uncivil thoughts. Beside, you are lieutenant of the tower. Say that there should be any hurt pretended, the privilege of your authority pries into every corner of this house, and what can there be done without your knowledge?
Thou sayest true, Flood. The Richard be protector, but once they are within the tower limits, the charge of them, unless he derogate from this my office, which was never seen in any king's time, doth belong to me. And ere that Brackenbury will consent or suffer wrong to be done unto these babes, his sword and all the strength within the tower shall be opposed against the proudest comer. Be it to my soul as I intend to them.
And faith in me unto his commonwealth, and truth to men hath hitherto been seen the pilot that hath guided my life's course. Though 'twas my fortune to be wronged in both, and therefore, sir, neither the mighty's frown nor any bribe shall win me otherwise.
'Tis well resolved. Still, methinks they should be safe enough with us. And yet I fear. But now no more. Seems they are at hand.
Uncle, what gentleman is that?
It is sweet Prince, Lieutenant of the Tower.
Sir, we are come to be your guests tonight. I pray you tell me, did you ever know our father Edward lodge within this place?
Never to lodge, my liege, but oftentimes or on other occasions I have seen him here.
Brother, last night when you did send for me, my mother told me, hearing we should lodge within the tower, that it was a prison, and therefore marveled that my uncle Gloucester, of all the houses for a king's receipt within the city, had appointed none where you might keep your court, but only here.
Vile brats, how they did descant on the tower. My gentle nephew, they were ill-advised to tutor you with such unfitting terms, whoever they were, against this royal mansion. What if some part of it hath been reserved to be a prison for nobility? Follows it therefore that it cannot serve to any other use? Caesar himself, that built the same, within it kept his court, and many kings since him. The rooms are large, the buildings stately, and for the strength besides, it is the safest and the surest hold you have.
Uncle of Gloucester, if you think it so, 'tis not for me to contradict your will. We must allow it and are well content.
On then, a God's name.
Yet before we go, one question more with you, Master Lieutenant. We like you well, but we do perceive more comfort in your looks than in these walls. For all our Uncle Gloucester's friendly speech, our hearts would be as heavy still as lead. I pray you tell me, at which door or gate was it my Uncle Clarence did go in when he was sent a prisoner to this place?
At this, my liege. Why sighs your majesty?
He went in here that ne'er came back again. But as God hath decreed, so let it be. Come, brother, shall we go?
Yes, brother, anywhere with you.
Kenneth Wayne, I believe you're on.
Yes, I'm looking
okay.
for my line. Okay. Sir, were it best I did attend the Duke or stay his leisure till his back return?
I pray you, Master Tyrrell, stay without. It is not good you should be seen by day within the tower, especially at this time. I'll tell his honor of your being here, and you shall know his pleasure presently.
Even so, sir. Men would be glad by any means to raise themselves that have been overthrown by fortune's scorn, and I am one of them. Here comes the Duke.
Catesby, is this the man?
It is, if it like your excellency.
Come near. Thy name, I hear, is Tyrrell, is it not?
James Tyrrell is my name, my gracious lord.
Welcome. It should appear that thou hast been in better state than thou it seems thou art.
I have been by my fay, my lord, though now depressed and clouded over with adversity.
Be ruled by me, and thou shalt rise again and prove more happy than thou ever wast. There is but only 2 degrees by which it shall be needful for thee to ascend, and that is faith and taciturnity.
If ever I prove false unto your grace, convert your favor to afflictions.
But canst thou too be secret?
Try me, my lord. This tongue was never known to be a blab.
Thy countenance hath like a silver key opened the closet of my heart. Read there. If scholar-like thou canst expose those lines, thou art the man ordained to serve my turn.
So far as my capacity will reach, the sense, my lord, is this. This night you say the 2 young princes both must suffer death.
Thou hast my meaning. Wilt thou do it? Speak.
It shall be done.
Enough. Come, follow me. For thy direction and for gold to fee, such as must aid thee in their tragedy.
Welcome, Chucky. What good news bring you?
Oh, Mary, mistress, my good mistress greets ye, mistress, and praise ye, mistress, till dight up her chamber, for she'll lig with ye tonight, mistress, and here's her catskin till she come.
Why, how now, loiterer? Make ye no more haste. When will my trunks and all my stuff be brought, if you thus loiter? Go, make haste withal.
Mary, sall I, gin you'll be but patient a while.
Good gentle Mistress Blake, the only friend that fortune leaves me to rely upon. My counsel's closet and my tower of strength. for whom for safety I retire myself, to be secure in these tempestuous times. Oh, smile on me and give me gentle looks. If I be welcome, then with cheerful heart and willing hand show me true signs thereof.
Doubt ye a welcome, lady, to your friend? Nay, to your servant, to your beadswoman. To speak but truth, your bounty's bondwoman. Use me, command me, call my house your own, and all I have, sweet lady, at your will.
Away with titles, lay by courtly terms. The case is altered now the king is dead, and with his life my favoring friends are fled. No, madam, now, but as I was before, your faithful, kind companion, poor Jane Shore.
Oh, I have loved you then, and since, and ever shall. You are the woman, though your fortunes fall. You, when my husband's lewd transgression of all our wealth had lost possession, by forfeiture into his highness's hands, got restitution of our goods and lands. He fled and died in France. To heal that harm, you helped me to 3 manors in Fee Farm, the worst of which clears 60 pound a year. Have I not reason then to hold ye dear? Yes, hap what will, until my life do end, you are and shall be my best beloved friend.
How, if misfortune my folly do succeed?
Trust me, true friends by touch in time of need.
If want consume the wealth I had before?
My wealth is yours, and you shall spend my store.
But the protector prosecutes his hate.
With me live secret from the world's debate.
You will be weary of so bad a guest.
Then let me never on the earth be blessed.
Ah, Mistress Blake, you tender me such love as all my sorrows from my soul remove. And though my portion be not very large, yet I come not to you to be a charge. Coin, plate, and jewels prized at lowest rate I bring with me to maintain my estate, worth 20,000 pound in my array. If you survive to see my dying day, from you no penny will I give away.
And I thank you that so my wealth increased, am worth, I trow, 10,000 pounds at least. I think, like 2 warm widows, we may live until good fortune to good husbands give. For surely, Mistress Shaw, your husband's dead. When heard ye of him?
Never since he fled. Oh, Mistress Blake, now put you in my head that kills my heart. Why should I breathe this air who lost good name no treasure can repair? Oh, were he here with me to lead his life, although he never used me as his wife, but as a drudge to spurn me with his feet, yet should I think with him that life were sweet.
How can ye once conceit so base a thing, that have been kissed and conquered by a king? Weep not. You hurt yourself by God's bleat mother, blessed mother. Your husband's dead, woman. Think upon another. Let us eat to supper, drink wine, cheer your heart. And whilst I live, be sure I'll take your part.
Sir, I assure you 'tis my Lord Protector's warrant.
My friend, I have conferred it with these letters, and 'tis his hand indeed, I'll not deny. But blame me not, although I be precise in matters that so nearly do concern me.
My Lord Protector, sir, I make no doubt, dare justify his warrant, though perhaps he doth not now acquaint you why he doth it.
I think, sir, there's no subject now in England will urge his grace to show what he dare do, nor will I ask him why he does it. I would I might, to rid me of my doubt.
Why, sir, I think he needs no precedent for what he does. I think his power is absolute enough.
I have no power, sir, to examine it, nor will. I do obey your warrant, which I will keep for my security.
You shall do well in that, sir.
Here's the keys.
And yet, I could wish my Lord Protector had sent his warrant hither by some other. I do not like their looks. I'll tell you true.
Nor I, Flood, I assure thee.
What does that slave mutter to his master?
I hear him say he does not like our looks.
Why not our looks, sir?
Sir, we hear you.
I'm glad you do, sir. All is one for that. But if you did not hearken better now, I never saw three faces in whose looks did ever sit more terror and more death. God bless the princes. If it be his will, I do not like these villains.
Zoons, stab the villain, Sirrah. Do you brave us?
Aye, there's your coming, for you come to stab.
Stab him!
Nay, then I'll stab with thee.
Blood cut his throat.
Hold, gentlemen, I pray you.
Sir, I am hurt, stabbed in the arm.
This is not to be justified, my friends. To draw your weapons here within the tower, and by the law it is no less than death. I cannot think the Duke will like of this. I pray you be content. Too much is done.
He might have held his peace then and been quiet. Farewell, farewell.
Hell and damnation follow murderers!
No, Flood, get thee some surgeon to look to thy wound. Hast no acquaintance with some skillful surgeon? Keep the wound close and let it not take the air. And for my part, I will not stay here whither thou goest, that I may send to thee.
To one Mistress Blaggs, an inn in Lombard Street. There you shall find me, or shall hear of me.
Sweet princely babes, farewell. I fear you sore. I doubt these eyes shall never see you more.
How does your lordship?
Well, good brother Richard, how does yourself? You told me your head ached.
Indeed, it does, my lord. Feel with your hands how hot it is.
Indeed, you have caught cold with sitting yesternight to hear me read. I pray thee, go to bed, sweet Dick. Poor little heart.
You'll give me leave to wait upon your lordship?
I had more need, brother, to wait on you, for you are sick, and so am not I.
Oh, Lord, methinks this going to our bed, how like it is to going to our grave.
I pray thee, do not speak of graves, sweetheart. Indeed, thou frightest me.
Why, my lord brother, did not our tutor teach us that when at night we went unto our bed, we still should think we went unto our grave?
Yes, that's true, if we should do as every Christian ought, to be prepared to die at every hour. But I am heavy.
Indeed, and so am I.
Then let us say our prayers and go to bed.
What bleeds your grace?
2 drops and no more.
God bless us both, and I desire no more.
Brother, see here what David says, and so say I. Lord, in thee will I trust, although I die.
Go, lay down, but never more to rise. I have put my hand into the foulest murder that ever was committed since the world. The very senseless stones here in the walls break out in tears, but to behold the fact. Methinks the bodies lying dead in graves should rise and cry against us. Oh, hark, hark. The mandrake shrieks are music to their cries. The very night is frighted, and the stars do drop like torches to behold the steed. The very center of the earth doth shake. Methinks the tower should rent down from the top to let the heaven look on this monstrous deed.
Stand further, damned rogue, and come not near me.
Nay, say thou further, villain, stand aside.
Are we not both damned for this cursed deed?
Thou art the witness that thou bearest the king.
And what bearest thou?
It is too true. Oh, I am damned indeed.
I am as deep as you, although my hand did not the deed.
Oh, villain, art thou there?
A plague light on thee.
Curse not. 1,000 plagues will light upon us all. The priest here in the tower will bury them. Let us away.
So, set him here a while. Where is what air? How cheer you, sir? Alack, he doth begin to change his colour. Where is Mistress Shaw? Gone to her closet for a precious balm, the same she said King Edward used himself. Alack, I fear he'll die before she come. Run quickly for some Rosa Solis. Faint not, sir. Be of good comfort. Come, good Mistress Shaw. What have you there?
Stand by and give me leave.
Unhappy me to lodge him in my house.
I warrant you, woman, be not so afraid. If not this bloodstone hanged about his neck, this balm would stanch it, by the help of God. Lift up his arm whilst I do bathe his wound. The sign belike was here when he was hurt, or else some principal and chief vein is pierced.
However, sure the surgeon was a knave that looked no better to him at the first.
Blame him not, Mistress Blagg. The best of them in such a case as this may be to seek.
God be blessed. See the crimson blood that was precipitate and falling down into his arm, retires into his face. How fare you, sir? How do you feel yourself?
Oh, wherefore have I waked me from my sleep and broke the quiet slumber I was in? Methought I sate in such a pleasant place, so full of all delight as never eye behold nor heart of man could comprehend. If you had let me go, I felt no pain, but being now revoked, my grief renews.
Give him some Rosa Solis, Mistress Blagg, and that will likewise animate the spirits and send alacrity unto the heart that hath been struggling with the pangs of death.
Here, sir, drink this. You need not fear it, sir. It is no hurt. See, I will be your taster. Then drink, I pray you.
Now, fellows, raise his body from the chair and gently let him walk a turn or two.
Good sooth, Mistress Shaw, I did not think till now you had been such a cunning, skilled physician.
Oh, Mistress Blagg, how thou, I must needs confess, it would have been more welcome to my soul if I had died and been removed at last from the confused troubles of this world, whereof I have sustained no mean weight, that lingering here may be made a pack horse still of torments, in comparison which death is but the pricking of a thorn. Yet I do thank you for your taken pains, and would to God I would requite your love.
I did you little good. What was done? Ascribe the benefit and praise thereof unto the gentlewoman, kind Mistress Shaw, who next to God preserved your feeble life.
Oh, Mr. Shore, good friends, let go your hold. My strength is now sufficient of itself. Oh, is it that she that still prolonged my woe? Was it ordained, and not only at the first she should be my destruction, but now twice, when gracious destinies had brought about the end of this weary pilgrimage of mine? Must she, and none but she, prevent that good, and stop my entrance to eternal bliss? O lasting plague, O endless corrosive, it now repents me double that I escaped, since life's made death and life's author hate.
Sir, take my counsel and sit down again. It is not good to be so bold of foot upon the sudden till you have more strength.
Mistress, thank you, and care not much if I be ruled by you. Oh God, that she should pity me unknown, that knowing me by her was overthrown, or ignorantly she should regard this smart that heretofore spared, not to stab my heart.
By your leave, Mistress Blagg, I'm somewhat bold. Is there not a gentleman within your house called Master Flood, come hither hurt last night?
Ah, is his name Flood? I knew it not till now. But here he is, and well recovered, thanks to this gentlewoman, Mistress Shaw.
Pardon me, Mistress Shaw, I saw you not. And trust me, I'm sorry at the heart, so good a creature as yourself hath been, should be so vilely dealt with as you are. I promise you, the world laments your case.
How mean you, sir? I understand you not lament my case for what? For Edward's death? I know that I have lost a gracious friend, but that is not to be remedied now.
No, Mistress Shaw, it is for Richard's hate that too much envies your prosperity.
I know he loves me not, and for that cause I have withdrawn me wholly from the court.
You have not seen the proclamation, then?
The proclamation? No, what proclamation?
Ah, Mistress Shaw, the king in every street of London and in every borough town throughout this land have publicly proclaimed, on pain of death, that none shall harbor you or give you food or clothes to keep you warm. But having first done shameful penance here, you shall be then thrust forth the city gates into the naked, cold, forsaken field. I fable not, I would to God I did. See, here's the manner of it put in print. 'Tis to be told in every stationer's shop, besides a number of them clapped on posts, where people crowding as they read your fall, some murmur and some sigh, but most of them have their relenting eyes even big with tears.
God's will be done. I know my sin is great, and he that is omnipotent and just cannot but must reward me heavily.
It grieves me, Mistress Shaw. It was my chance to be the first reporter of this news.
Let it not grieve. I must have heard it, and now as good as at another time.
I pray thee, Mistress Blake, have care of Flood, and what his charges I will see you paid.
Farewell to all. That still shall be my song. Let men impose upon me ne'er such wrong. This extremity shall seem the less in that I have a friend to lean unto, sweet Mistress Blake. There were upon the earth no comfort left for miserable Jane, but that I do presume upon your love. I know, though tyrant Richard had set down a greater penalty than is proclaimed, which cannot well be thought, yet in your house I should have succor and relief beside.
What? And so I should be a traitor, should I? Is that the care you have of me and mine? Thank you, truly. No. There's no such matter. I love you well, but I love myself better. As long as you were held a true subject, I made account of you accordingly. But being otherwise, I do reject you, and will not cherish my king's enemy. You know the danger of the proclamation. I would to God you would depart my house.
When was it ever seen Jane Shore was false, either unto her country or her king? And therefore 'tis not well, good Mistress Blake, that you upbraid me with a traitor's name.
Aye, but you have been a wicked liver, and now you see what it is to be unchaste. You should have kept you with your honest husband. 'Twas never other like but that such filthiness would have a foul and detestable end.
Time was that you did tell me otherwise, and studied how to set a gloss on that which now you say is ugly and deformed.
I told you then, as then the time did serve, and more indeed to try your disposition than any way to encourage you to sin. But when I saw you were ambitious and faintly stood on terms of modesty, I left you to your own arbitrament. Can you deny it was not so? How say you?
We will not, Mistress Blake, dispute of that. But now in charity and womanhood, let me find favor, if it be but this, that in some barn or stable I may shroud till otherwise I be provided for.
I pray you, do not urge me, Mistress Shaw. I will not have my house endangered so.
Oh, you did promise I should never want, and that your house was mine, and swore the same. To keep your oath, be then compassionate.
So you did swear you would be true to shore, and you were not so good as was your word. My oath's discharged then, by the king's command.
Let me have those jewels and that money which is within my trunks.
I know of none. If there be any, I will be so bold as to keep it for your diet and your mends. It is no little charge I have been at to feed your dainty tooth since you came hither. Besides, house room, I'm sure, is something's worth.
Oh, Jane, I cannot choose but pity thee. Here's the first step to thy deep misery.
That my grave had then been made my house, when either first I went unto the court, or from the court returned unto this place.
How now? What are you? It had been manners. You should have knocked before you had come in.
We are the bishop's praetors, my friend, and Mistress Shore, our errand is to you. This day it is commanded by the king you must be stripped out of your rich attire and in a white sheet go from Temple Bar until you come to Aldgate, barefooted, your hair about your ears and in your hand a burning taper. Therefore, go with us.
Even when and whither you will. And would to God, the king as soon could rid my soul of sin as he may strip my body of these rags.
That would be soon enough, but come away. And Mistress Blake, you'll hardly answer it when it is known we found her in your house.
It seems you do not fear to harbor her.
I? Harbor her? Out on her, strumpet queen! She pressed upon me, where I would know. I'll see her hanged ere I will harbor her. So now her jewels and her gold is mine, and I am made at least £4,000 wealthier by this match than I was before. And what can be objective for the same? Once I loved her, well, perhaps I did. But now I am of another humour, and women all are governed by the moon, which is, you know, a planet that will change.
Come, Master Sheriff of London, do your office. Attach this rebel to his majesty, and having stripped her to the petticoat, turn her out of doors with this condition, that no man harbor her that durst presume to harbor that lewd courtesan, Shore's wife, against the straight commandment of the king.
I beseech you, sir.
Away with her, I say. The while I'll seize upon her house and goods, which wholly are confiscate to the king.
What have I beheld? Were I as young as when I came to London to be prentice, this pageant were sufficient to instruct and teach me never after to be wise. First I seen the desert of wantonness and breach of wedlock, then the flattery next of dissembling love, and at last all the ruin of base catching avarice, but poor Jane Shore. And that I loved thee once, and was thy husband, I must pity thee. The sparks of old affection long ago, raked up in ashes of displeasure kindle, and in the furnace of adversity the world shall see a husband's loyalty.
Spuria vitulamina non agent radices altes. Bastardly slips have always slender growth. Ah, sure, this was the cursed theme that at Paul's cross thou madest thy sermon of, to prove the lawful issue of thy king got out of wedlock illegitimate. Ah, Duke of Gloucester, this did thou procure. Did, Richard? No, it was thy fault. thou wouldst be won to such a damned deed, which now to think on makes my soul to bleed. Ah, Friar Anselm, sleep among the blessed, thy prophecy thus falsely did I wrest.
Thou didst, and be thou damned therefore. Never come thy soul where blessedness abides. Didst thou not know the letter G was Gloucester?
Anselm, I did.
Why then didst thou affirm that it was meant by George, the Duke of Clarence? But no honorable, harmless gentleman, whose thoughts all innocent as any child, yet came through thee to such a luckless death.
I was enforced by the Duke of Gloucester.
Enforced, say'st thou? Wouldst thou then be enforced, being a man of thy profession, to sin so vilely, and with thine own mouth to damn thy soul? No, wast thou not enforced? Thou wast not enforced, but gain and hope of high promotion hired thee thereto. Say, was it so or no?
It did.
Why then, record in thy bleak hellish thoughts how many mischiefs have ensued hereon. First Rond Clarence drowned in the tower, next Edward's children murdered in the tower. This day at Pomfret noble gentlemen 3, the queen's kindred, lose their harmless heads. Think'st thou that there is flood of mischief stays? No, villain! Many are marked in the block, and they the nearest think them farthest off. Even Buckingham, creator of that king, shall he to woe than wretched ending bring. All this accursed man hath come by thee, and thy false wresting of my prophecy. For England's good disclosed to thy trust, and so it has been, hast thou proved just. But thou and every one that had a hand in that most woeful murder of the princes, to fatal ends you are all appointed. Here in thy study shalt thou starve thyself, and from this hour not taste one bit of food. The rest shall after follow in a row. To all their deaths vengeance will not be slow.
Where is Master Dr. Shaw?
Here, friend, what is thy will with me?
King Richard prays me to come to him straight, for he would be confessed.
I cannot come. I pray thee, take that friar, for he can do it far better than I.
A friar, Master Doctor? I see none.
Doest thou not? No. Thine untainted soul cannot discern the horrors that I do.
Shaw, go with him, and tell that tyrant Richard he hath but 3 years limited for life, and then shameful death takes hold on him. That done, return, and in thy study end thy loathed life that didst us all offend.
With all my heart, would it were ended now. So it were done, I care not where nor how.
Now, Mr. Shore, here our commission ends. Put off your robe for shame, for this is Aldgate, whither it was appointed we should bring you.
My robe of shame. Oh, that so foul a name could be applied unto so fair a garment, which is now no more to be condemned of shame than snow of putrefaction is deserved to cover an infectious heap of dung. My robe of shame, but not my shame, put off, for that sits branded on my forehead still, and therefore in derision was I wrapped in this white sheet, and in derision bore this burning taper to express my folly, that having light of reason to direct me, delighted yet in byways of dark error.
Well, Mr. Shore, I hope you grudge not us. We showed you all the favor poor men could.
Oh, God forbid. I know the king's edict set you a work, and not your own desires.
Aye, truly, mistress. And for our parts, we could be well content 'twere otherwise, but that the law's severe, and so we leave you.
Farewell to you both. And London too. Farewell to thee where I was first enticed, that scandalized thy dignity with shame. But now thou hast returned me treble blame, my tongue that gave consent enjoined to beg, mine eyes adjudged to hourly laments, mine arms for their embracing catch the air, and these quick nimble feet that were so ready to step into a king's forbidden bed. London, thy flints have punished for their pride, and thou hast drunk their blood for thy revenge. What now avails to think what I have been? Then welcome, nakedness and poverty, welcome contempt, welcome, you barren fields, welcome the lack of meat and lack of friends, and wretched Jane, according to thy state, sit here and lower if might be. All things that breathe in their extremity have some recourse of succor. Thou hast none. The child offended flies into the mother. The soldier struck retires unto his captain. The fish distressed slides into the river. Birds of the air do fly unto their dams, and underneath their wings are quickly shrouded. Nay, beat the spaniel, and his master moans him, but I have neither where to shroud myself, nor anyone to make my moan unto. Come, patience then, and though my body pine, make thou a banquet to refresh my soul. Let heart's deep throbbing sighs be all my bread, my drink salt tears, my guest repentant thoughts, that those who knew me and doth see me now may shun by me the breach of wedlock's vow.
O God, how full of dangers grow these times, and no assurance seen in any state. No man can say that he is master now of anything is his. Such is the tide of sharp disturbance running through the land. I've given over my office in the Tower because I cannot brook their vile complots, nor smother such outrageous villanies. But Mistress Shore, to be so basely wronged and vilely used, that hath so well deserved, it doth afflict me in the very soul. She saved my kinsman, Harry Strangwich, life. Therefore, in duty am I bound to her, to do what good I may, though law forbid. See where she sits. God comfort thee, good soul. First take that to relieve thy body with, and next receive this book, wherein is food, manna of heaven, to refresh thy soul. These holy meditations, Mistress Shore, will yield much comfort in this misery. But on contemplate still, I'll never lin that God may be unmindful of thy sin.
Master Lieutenant, in my heart, I thank ye for this kind comfort to a wretched soul. Welcome, sweet prayer book, food of my life, the sovereign balm for my sick conscience. Thou shalt be my soul's pleasure and delight to wipe my sins out of Jehovah's sight.
Do so, good Mistress Shore. Now I must leave ye, because some other business calls me hence. And God, I pray, regard your penitence.
Farewell, Sir Robert. And for this good to me, the God of heaven be mindful still of thee.
You're muted, David.
David Palmer Brown, you're muted. David, can you unmute yourself?
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
This way she went and cannot be far off. But even now I met the officers that were attendant on her in her penance. Yonder she sits. Now then, heir, show thyself thankful to her that sometime saved thy life when law had made thee subject to base death. Give her thy purse, for here comes somebody. Stand by a while, for fear thou be discovered.
What? Mistress Shore? King Edward's concubine sit on a molehill? Oh, disparagement. A throne were fitter for your ladyship. Why, will you slubber these fair cheeks with tears, or sit so solitary? Where's all your servants? Where is your gown of silk, your periwigs, your fine rebatoes, and your costly jewels? What, not so much as a shoe upon your foot? Nay, then, I see the world goes hard with whores.
The slave jibes at her misery.
Now, whither is it better to be in court, there to beg a license of the king for transportation of commodities, than to sit here and sit forsaken as thou dost? I think upon condition Edward lived, and thou wert still in favor as before, thou wouldst not say that Rufford had deserved to have his ears rent for worser suit than license to ship over corn and lead. What, not a word? Faith, wench, I'll tell thee what. If thou dost think thy old trade out of date, go learn to play the bawd another while.
Inhuman wretch! Why dost thou scorn her so, and vex her grieved soul with bitter taunts?
Because I will. She is a courtesan, and one abhorred of the world for her lust.
If all thy faults were in thy forehead writ, perhaps thou wouldst thyself appear no less, but much more horrible than she doth now.
You are no judge of mine, sir.
Why, nor thou of her.
The world hath judged and found her guilty, and 'tis the king's command she be held odious.
The king of heaven commandeth otherwise, and if thou be not willing to relieve her, let it suffice thou seest her miserable, and study not to amplify her grief. What other woeful spectacle comes here? What? Mistress, take that and spend it for my sake.
Oh, I am pinched with more than common want. Where shall I find relief? Oh, gentlemen, pity a wretched woman, like to starve, and I will pray for thee. 1 halfpenny, for Christ's sake, to comfort me withal.
What? Mistress Black, is it you? No marvel, sure, but you should be relieved. A halfpenny, quotha? Aye, marry, sir, and so be hanged myself. Not I. This gentleman may, if he please. Get you to your companion, Mistress Shore, and then there is a pair of queens well met. Now, I bethink me, I'll go to the king and tell him that some will relieve Shore's wife, except some officer be appointed that carefully regards it be not so. Therefore, myself will I make an offer to him, which questionless he cannot but accept. So shall I still pursue Shore's wife with hate, that scorned me in her high whore's estate.
Good gentlemen, bestow your charity, 1 single halfpenny to help my need.
Not one were I master of the mint. What, succor thee that didst betray thy friend? See where she sits, whom thou didst scorn indeed, and therefore rightly art thou scorned again. Thou thought'st to be enriched with her goods, but thou hast now lost both thine own and hers. And for my part, knew I 'twould save her thy life, thou shouldst not get so much as a crumb of bread. Pack, counterfeit, pack away, dissembling drab.
Oh, misery. But shall I stay to look her in the face, whom I so much have wronged?
Yes, Mistress Blake. I freely pardon you. You have done me no wrong. Come, sit with me. 'Twas so in wealth, why not in poverty?
Oh, willingly, if you can brook her presence, whom you have greater reason to despise.
Why, woman, Richard that hath banished me and seeks my ruin, causeless though it be, do I in heart pray for, and will be still. Come thou and share with me what God hath sent. A stranger gave it me, and part thereof I do as freely now bestow on you.
I thank you, Mistress Shaw. This courtesy renews the grief of my inconstancy.
Yonder she sits, how like a withered tree that is in winter leafless and bereft. Oh, lively sap sits the poor abject soul. How much unlike the woman is she now? She was but yesterday so short and brittle. Is this world's happiness? But who is that? False Mistress Plague, oh, how canst thou brook her, Jane? Aye, thou wast always mild and pitiful. Oh, hadst thou been a chaste, we had been blessed. But now no more of that. She shall not starve so long as this, and as such as this may serve. Here, Mr. Shaw, feed on these homely cates, and there is wine to drink them down withal.
Good sir, your name, that pities poor Jane Shore, that in my prayers I may remember you.
No matter my name, I am a friend that loves you well. So farewell, Mr. Shore, and that is spent, I vow to bring you more.
God's blessing be your guide where'er you go. Thus, Mistress Blake, you see, amidst our woe, for all the world can do, God sends relief, and will not yet we perish in our grief. Come, let us step into some secret place where undisturbed we may partake this grace.
Is not amiss, if you be so content, for here the field's too open and frequent.
What? Is she gone so soon? Alack, poor Jane! Now, I compassionate thy woeful case, whereas we live together, man and wife, oft on an humble stool by the fireside sat she contented, whenas my high heat would chide her for it. But what would she say? Husband, we both must lower sit one day. When I dare swear she never dreamed of this, but she, good God, what prophesying is.
This is King Richard's hand, I know it well. And this of thine is justly counterfeit, as he himself would swear it were his own.
King's hand counterfeit, list of what? List of that?
Every letter, every little dash in all respects alike. Now may I use my transportation of my corn and hides without the danger of the forbidding law. And so I have done in Edward. So I would have done in Edward's days, but that good Mistress Shore did please to cross me. But mark how now I shall requite her for it. I moved my suit and plainly told the king some would relieve her if no man in charge had charge to see severely to the contrary. Forthwith his grace appointed me the man, and gave me officers to wait upon me, which will so countenance thy cunning work as I shall no way be suspected in it. How sayst thou, Fog?
It will do well indeed. But, good sir, have a care in any case, for else you know what harm may come thereon.
A care, sayst thou? Why, man, I will not trust my house, my strongest locks, nor any place but mine own bosom. There will I keep it still. If I miscarry, so it doth with me.
Are you so cunning, sir? I say no more, Jane Shore, or I may quittance you for this.
Well, Fog, I have contented thee. Thou mayst be gone. I must about my charge to see what that none relieve Shore's wife with aught. Come on, good fellows, you that must attend King Richard's service under my command. Your charge is to be very vigilant over that strumpet whom they call Shore's wife. If any traitor give her but a mite, a draught of water or a crust of bread or any other food, whate'er it may be, lay hold on him. For it is present death by good King Richard's proclamation. This is her haunt. Here stand I sentinel. Keep you unseen and aid me when I call.
Now must I, under colour of playing at bowls, help to relieve my good Mistress Shore. Come, Geoffrey, we will play 5 up, for this bottle of ale and yonder good poor woman shall keep the stakes, and this cheese shall be the maester.
Ah, here is a villain that would not relieve her, but yet he'll lose. He bowls that way to help her. Apprehend him, fellows, when I bid ye. Although his mate be gone, he shall pay for it. Take him, and let the beetles whip him well.
Hear ye, sir, shall they be whipped and hanged that give to the poor? Then they shall be damned that take from the poor.
Ah, yonder sits the sweet forsaken soul, to whom forever I stand deeply bound. She saved my life, then ere help to save hers.
Whither go ye, sir? You come to give this strumpet some relief?
She did more good than ever thou canst do, and if thou wilt not pity her thyself, give others leave, by duty bound thereto. Here, Mistress Shore, take this, and would to God it were so much as my poor heart could wish.
Darest thou so, heir?
Sure, that's a bill.
I said, it were so much.
Who is it that pities my poor wife? 'Tis Master Eyre. God's blessing on him for it.
Darest thou so, heir?
Rufford, I dare do more. Here is my ring. It weighs an ounce of gold. And take my cloak to keep ye from the cold.
Thou art a traitor, heir.
Rufford, thou art a villain so to call me.
Lay hold on him. Attach him, officers.
Rufford, I'll answer thine arrest with this.
All this contending, sir, will not avail. This treason will be rated after thy life.
Life is too little for her sake that saved it.
Is he a traitor, sir, for doing good? God save the king, a true heart means no ill. I trust he hath reclaimed his sharpened edict, and will not that his poor subject perish, and so persuaded I myself will do that which both love and nature bind me to. I cannot give her as she well deserves, for she hath lost a greater benefit. Poor woman, take that purse.
I'll take it away.
You shall not, sir. For I will answer before the king if you enforce it so.
Oh, it must be so. You shall unto the king.
You will be he will first repent the thing. Come, Master Eyre. I'll bear ye company, which wise men say doth ease calamity.
If grief to speech free speech could afford, or for each woe I had a fitting word, I might complain. Or if my flood of tears could move remorse of minds, or pierce dull ears, or wash away my cares, or cleanse my crime, with words and tears I would bewail this time. But it is bootless. Why live I to see all those despised that do pity me? Despised? Alas, destroyed, and led to death that gave me alms here to prolong my breath. Fair dames, behold, let my example prove there is no love like a husband's love.
Now tell us, Rufford, which of these it is that in the heat of his upheaved spleen condemns our crown, disdains our dignity, and arms himself against authority.
Both have offended, my dread sovereign, though not alike, yet both faults capital. These lines declare what, when, and where it was.
Which is that, Eyre?
This young man, my liege.
I thought it was some hot distempered blood that fired his giddy brain with business. Is thy name Eyre?
It is.
This paper says so.
Perish may he that made that paper speak.
Huh? Dost thou wish confusion unto us? This paper is the organ of our power, and shall pronounce thy condemnation. We speak it thy treasons to thy face, and thy malicious tongue speaks treason still. Relieved thou Shore's wife in contempt of us?
No, but her just desert. She saved my life, which I had forfeited, whereby my goods and life she merited.
And thou shalt pay for it in that self-same place where thou, this man, our officer, didst outface and scornedst us, saying, if we stood by, thou wouldst relieve her.
I do not deny, for want of food, her breath was near expired. I gave her means to buy it, undesired, and rather choose to die for charity than live condemned of ingratitude.
Your good devotion brings you to the gallows. He hath his sentence. Rutherford see him hanged. Now, sir, your name.
Is it not written there?
Here's Matthew Flood.
That is his name, my lord.
Is thy name Flood?
So Master Rufford says.
Flood and air. The elements conspire in air and water to confound our power. Didst thou relieve that hateful wretch, Shore's wife?
I did relieve that woeful wretch, Shore's wife.
Thou seemst a man well staid and temperate. Dost thou infringe our proclamation?
I did not break it.
Yes,
Yeah.
and added more, that you would answer it before the king.
And added more, you would repent the thing.
Who, I? His Highness knows my innocence and ready service with my goods and life. Answer thy treasons to his majesty.
What canst thou say, Flood, why thou shouldst not die?
Nothing. For I am mortal and must die. When my time comes, that I think's not yet. Although God knows each hour I wish it were, so full of dolour is my weary life. Now say I this, that I do know the man which doth abet that traitorous libeller, who did compose and spread that slanderous rhyme which scandals you and doth abuse the time.
What? Libeller? Another Collingborn that wrote The Cat, the Rat, and Lovell our Dog, rule all England under a hog. Canst thou repeat it, Flood?
I think I can, if you command me so.
We do command thee.
In this sort it goes. The crook-backed boar the way hath found to root our roses from the ground. Both flower and bud will he confound till king of beasts the swine be crowned. And then dog, cat, and rat shall in his trough feed and be fat. Peace, quoth Master Fogg, both chief secretary and counsellor to Master Rufford.
How sayest thou, Flood? Doth Rufford foster this?
He's a traitor if he do, my lord.
I foster it? Dread lord, I ask no grace if I be guilty of this libeling. Vouchsafe me justice, as you are my prince, against this traitor that accuseth me.
What justice cravest thou? I will combat thee in sign whereof I do unbutton me in my shirt, my challenge will maintain. Thou call'st me traitor, I will prove thee one. Open thy bosom like me if thou darest.
I will not be so rude before his grace.
Thou wilt not ope the pack of thy disgrace, because thy doublet's stuffed with traitorous libels.
Catesby, tear off the buttons from his breast. What fight's there?
Your Highness's hand and seal for transportation of hide, corn, and lead.
Traitor. Did I not sign that commission?
Oh, pardon me, my most royal king.
Pardon? To counterfeit my hand and seal? Have I bestowed such love and such countenance, such trust in thee, and such authority to have my hand and signet counterfeit, to carry corn and the food of all the land and lead, which after might annoy the land, and hides, whose leather must relieve the land to strangers? enemies unto the land. Didst thou so nearly counterfeit my hand?
No, not I, my liege, but Fogg, the attorney.
Away with him, Lovell and Catesby, go. Command the sheriffs of London presently to see him drawn and hanged and quartered. Let them not drink before they see him dead. Haste you again.
Well, Flood, thou art my death. I might have lived to have seen thee lose thy head.
Thou hast but justice for thy cruelty against the guiltless souls in misery. I ask no favor if I merit death.
Cravest thou no favor? Then I tell thee, Flood, thou art a traitor, breaking our edict by succoring that traitorous queen, Shore's wife, and thou shalt die.
If I have broke the law.
If, traitor! Didst thou not give her thy purse, and dost thou not maintain this deed?
I do. If it be death to the relenting heart of a kind husband wronged by a king, to pity his poor, weak, seduced wife, whom all the world must suffer by command, to pine and perish for the want of food. If it be treason for her husband, then, in the dear bowels of his former love, to bury his own wrong and her misdeed, and give her meat whom he has wont to feed, then Shore must die. For Flood is not my name, though once I took it to conceal my shame. Pity permits not injured Shore pass by and see his once loved wife with famine die.
Lovell and Catesby, this is Shore indeed. Shore, we confess that thou hast privilege and art accepted in our proclamation because thou art her husband whom it concerns, and thou mayst lawfully leave thy wife upon condition thou forgive her fault, take her again, and use her as before. Hazard new horns, how sayst thou, wilt thou, Shore?
If any but your grace should so upbraid, such rude reproach should roughly be repaid. Suppose for treason that she lay condemned, might I not feed her till her hour of death? And yet, myself, no traitor for it?
Thou mightest.
Why, and why not now? Oh, pardon me, dear lord. When she hath been both punished and shame sufficient, since a king did cause her blame, may I not give her food to save her life, and yet take and use her as my wife?
Except thou take her home again to thee. Thou art a stranger, and it shall not be. For if thou do, expect what doth belong.
I can never forget so great a wrong.
Then never feed her whom thou canst not love.
My charity doth that compassion move.
Move us no more. Lovell, let Eyre be hanged, just in the place where he relieved Shore's wife. Shore hath his pardon for the first offense. The name of husband pleads his innocence. Away with them. Catesby, come you with us.
Good Mistress Shore, grieve me not with your tears, but let me go in quiet to mine end.
Alas, poor soul, was never innocent thus put to death.
The more's my joy that I am innocent. My death is the less grievous I am so.
Oh, Master Eyre, the time hath been ere now when I have kneeled to Edward on my knees and begged for him that now doth make me beg. I have given him when he hath begged of me, though he forbids to give me what I beg. I have ere now relieved him and his, though he and his deny relief of me. Had I been envious then, as Richard now, I had not starved, nor Edward's sons been murdered, nor Richard lived to put you now to death.
The more, Jane, is thy virtue and his sin.
Come, sir, dispatch.
Dispatch, you say? Dispatch you may call it. He cannot stay when death dispatcheth all.
Lord, is my sin so horrible and grievous that I should now become a murderer? I saved the life of many a man condemned, but never was the death of man before. That any man thus for my sake should die afflicts me more than all the misery.
Jane, be content. I am as much indebted unto thee as unto nature. I owed thee a life when it was forfeit unto death by law. Thou begst it of the king and gavest it me. This house of flesh wherein this soul doth dwell is thine, and thou art landlady of it. And this poor life, a tenant but at pleasure. It never came to pay the rent till now, but hath run in arrearage all this while. And now for very shame comes to discharge it, when death distrains for what is but thy due. I had not ought thee so much as I do, but by thy only mercy to preserve it until I lose it for my charity. Thou givest me more than ever I can pay. Then do thy pleasure, executioner. And now farewell, kind, virtuous Mistress Shore. In heaven we'll meet again, on earth no more.
Farewell. Farewell thou, for thy alms dost die, when I must end here, starved in misery. In life, my friend, in death, I'll not forsake thee. Thou goest to heaven. I hope to overtake thee.
O world, what art thou? Man, even from his birth, finds nothing else but misery on earth. Thou never, world, scorned me so much before, but I, vain world, do hate thee 10 times more. I'm glad I feel approaching death so nigh. World, thou hatest me, I thee, vain world, defy. I pray ye yet, good master officers, do but this kindness to poor wretched souls, as let us have the burial of our friend. It is but so much labor saved to you.
There, take his body, bury it where you will, so it be quickly done out of the way.
What's he that begs the burial of my friend? It hath so oftentimes relieved me. Gentle sir, to comfort my sad woe, let me that good kind man of mercy know.
Ah, Jane, there is none that but thou and I. Look on me well. Knowest thou thy Matthew Shore?
My husband! Oh, then break heart and live no more.
Ah, my dear Jane, comfort thy heavy soul. Shush, go not away so soon. A little stay, a little while, what thou and I, like man and wife, may here together die.
How can I look upon my husband's face, that shamed myself and wrought his deep disgrace?
Ah, Jane, be content. Our woes are now alike. With one self-rod thou seest God doth us strike. For if thy sin, I'll pray to heaven for thee, and if for mine, do thou as much for me.
Ah, sure. Is possible thou canst forgive me?
Yes, Jane, I do.
I cannot hope thou wilt. My fault so great that I cannot expect it.
In faith, I do as freely as my soul, and as at God's hand, I hope to be forgiven.
Oh, that God reward thee, for we now must part. I feel cold death to seize upon my heart.
He has come to me. Lo! Here he lies. I feel him ready to close up my eyes. Lend me thy hand to bury this our friend, and then we both will hasten to our end. Jane, sit thou there. Here, I my place will have. Give me thy hand, thus we embrace our grave. Ah, Jane! He that the depth of woe will see, let him but now behold our misery, but be content. This is the best of all. Lower than now we are, we cannot fall.
I am faint. How happy e'er art thou, not feeling that which doth afflict us now.
O happy grave, 'twas this comfort giving. Here lies two living dead, here one dead living. Here for his sake, lo, this we do for thee. Thou look'st for one, and art possessed of three.
O dying marriage, O sweet married death, thou grave which only shouldst part faithful friends, brings us together, and dost join our hands. O living death, even in this dying life, yet ere I go once, Matthew, kiss thy wife.
My sweet Jane, farewell, farewell, poor soul. Now, tyrant Richard, do the worst thou canst. She doth defy thee. Oh, unconstant world, here lies a true anatomy of thee, a king, and all my joy that her enjoyed, and by a king again she was destroyed. All ages of my kingly woes shall tell once more, inconstant world. Farewell. Farewell.
Sirs, if the king or else the Duke of Buckingham do send for me, I will attend them straight. But what are these? Here openly lie dead. Oh God, the one is Mistress Shore, and this is Flood, that was my man. The third is Master Eyre, who suffered death for his relieving her. They shall not thus lie in the open way. Lend me your hands and heavy hearts withal, at my own charge I'll give them burial.
My most noble lords, since it hath pleased you beyond our expectations and your bounties to impale my temples with the diadem, how far my quiet thoughts have ever been from this so great, majestic sovereignty, heaven can witness. Now, I am your king. Long may I be so to deserve your love. But I will be a servant to you all. Pray God my broken sleeps may give you rest, but only that my blood doth challenge it, being your lawful prince, by true succession. I could have wished with all my heart I could this majesty had sitten on the brow of any other. So much do I affect a private life, to spend my days in contemplation. But since that heaven and you will have it so, I take the crown as meekly at your hands, and free from any pure ambitious thought as any newborn babe. Thus must thou, Richard, seem as a saint to men in outward show, being a devil in thy heart. This must thou cover all thy villainies, keep them close from overlookers' eyes.
My sovereign, by the general consent of all the lords and commons of the land, I tender to your royal majesty
My royal princely cousin Buckingham, I see you strive to bless me more and more. Your bounty is so large and ample to me. You overflow my spirits with your great love. I willingly accept this virtuous princess and crown her, angel beauty, with my love.
Then, as the hand of your high parliament, I give her here unto your majesty.
Lord Lovell, I as heartily receive her. Welcome, fair queen.
And from the lords and commons of your land, I give the free and voluntary oath of their allegiance to your majesty, as to their sovereign and liege lord and lady, Richard III, and beauteous Anne, his queen, the true and lawful king and queen of England.
I do accept it, Catesby, in return exchange of mutual and party love. Now fog it you that in your traitorous libels, besides the counterfeiting of our hand and seal for Rufford, though so great a fault deserved to suffer death, as he already hath, going about to slubber our renown and wound us with reproach and infamy. Yet fog, that thou thyself mayst plainly see how far I am from seeking sharp revenge. Fog, I forgive thee, and with all we do repeal our heavy sentence against Shore's wife, restoring all her goods. For we intend with all the world now to be a perfect friend.
Why, my good lord, you know she's dead already.
True, Catesby, else I never had spoke such words. Alas, I see our kindness comes too late, for Catesby tells me she is dead already.
Aye, my good lord, so is her husband too.
Would that they had lived to see our friendly change. But Catesby, say, where died Shore and his wife?
Where'er was hanged for giving her release, there both of them round circling his cold grave and in arm departed from this life. The people, from the love they bear to her and her kind husband, pitying his wrongs, forever after mean to call the ditch Shore's ditch, as in the memory of them. Their bodies in the friars' minorities are in one grave interred all together. But Mistress Blagg, for her ingratitude to Mistress Shore, lies dead unburied, and no one will afford her burial.
But Mistress Blagg, she shall have burial too. What now? We must be friends. Indeed we must. And now, my lords, I give you all to know, in memory of our eternal love, I do ordain, in order of the Bath, 12 knights, in number of that royal sort, which order with all princely ceremonies shall be observant in all royal pomp. As Edwards, our forefathers of the greater, which feast ourself and our beloved queen, will presently solemnize in our presence.
Page?
That would be page 192.
Or 210 in the PDF.
Or 210 in the PDF.
Thank you.
See, it worked.
We're so close.
Yeah.
At the bottom.
It's like, now I am bold to put your grace in mind of my long suit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I am bold to put your grace in mind of my long suit, and partly your own promise, the Earl of Hereford's lands.
Cousin, we'll better think of that hereafter.
My pains, my lord, have not deserved delay.
We will appoint the time, then you shall stay. For this hot hasteness, sir, you shall stay. Move us no more, you were best.
Ay, Richard, has it come to this? In my first suit of all, dost thou deny me? Break thy own word and turn me off so slightly? Richard, thou hadst as good have damned my soul as basely thus to deal with Buckingham. Richard, I'll sit upon thy crumpet shoulder, if faith I will, if heaven will give me leave. And Harry Richmond this land alone shall fetch thee home, and seat thee in his throne.
What is he gone? Why, farewell he's displeased. Let him be pleased again. We have no time to think on angry men. Come, my sweet queen, let us go solemnize our knighthood's order in most royal wise.
All right, well done. Thank you all. Good job. Good job. And we had some good comments from, I hope you saw that Drew and Rachel and other people who had to leave had another great reading, and thank you all. And also Saturday now is our conclusion with Richard III.
Boy, now I know what I never associated a Shoreditch with Jane Shore. But
Yeah.
that's
I
what
did
it is.
it either.
Right.
Yeah.
What a character. I mean, it really demonstrates like Richard's just hatred. Like he's so mean to them both, and everyone. He's merciless.
Yeah. Well, of course, that was the Tudor view. There's in the city of York, in the towers. There's one of the towers is devoted to a little museum about Richard, and it does a lot to whiten his character. He wasn't the real Richard. Apparently, at least these people believe, was not as bad as Shakespeare portrayed him, or Hayward either.
Kind of like the Richard Nixon Library, probably, right? I just want to say thank you to everybody. You were all so wonderful. I was glad that I was not having to read any lines or anything during the Shore's death scene, because I just was weeping my eyes out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was really
Kudos.
beautiful work.
Great job.
Great.
Yeah, excellent.
It's so beautifully written, actually.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
It really is.
You just follow the punctuation, the whole emotion falls right out.
And I have to say again that for those that didn't hear this little bit of history in part one, is that a couple of us read that Shakespeare never wrote the Edward story because he didn't have to. He thought he saw these plays, and he said, I'm not going to beat that. So.
Yeah, well, it is interesting that these were published after Shakespeare's plays. So, I mean, I think that now they sort of feel that these may have been afterwards, sort of like, going back and filling in some of the backstory. So it's like, yeah, let's get Richard III. I know we killed him off, but we can do a little bit of a prequel to get him back.
Fill in the blanks, yeah.
So did Hayward write them after Richard III, or were they just published after Richard III?
Well, they weren't published until 1600, and they weren't registered in the Stationer's Register until 1599. And the others were done like in the early 1590s. So, I mean, some scholars say that they could have been written as early as 1594, but even that, I think, would be after Shakespeare's histories and of this period of Richard III.
Like Star Wars Part 1 through 3.
Yeah, but yeah, really, thank you all so much. Really, really great job, and it's great. I mean, also that really that this is so much about Jane Shore and Jane and Matthew Shore, the Shore family, and really beautiful work, Christina, and Bill. And
I was thinking it ought to be called the Jane Shore story.
That's what it's called in some circles.
Yeah,
it should be known. Well,
Edward dies off moderately early. I mean, he's suddenly out of the picture.
I mean, he had a whole this one too.
Good night,
Eduardo,
everyone.
I just have to ask you, how did you do that effect with the ghost? I was so
yes,
was great.
share,
Eduardo,
yes.
I was just about to say that was terrific.
Yeah.
Oh, I stole that from like a different Zoom play that I did. Basically, you just turn out all of the lights. And you only use your screen as a light source.
It was very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was excellent.
What filter
So
on his
you
iPhone?
played it very well. I mean, to use it, you got the technological trick, but then also to be able to play with it so well. So thank you. That was really
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
I will see you folks now, and I gotta go eat.
Yes, it is.
All right.
It is.
Yeah.
We did get done before 10:30, though. Like Stephen said, it'd go to 10:30. But
All right.
good job, everybody.
See you guys.
Thank you, everybody.